Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Hustler and Remo with you for the next couple hours. Another big win for the Jets last night. They hit the road to finish up the pre-Christmas schedule tomorrow night in Beantown against the league-leading Boston Bruins, and then finish it up with the Washington Capitals on Friday night. We'll get into last night's beat down of the Ottawa Senators, although it wasn't maybe exactly the way the score would indicate, and we'll hear from Rick Bowness on that in just a few minutes. Really looking forward to having John Shannon jump on the program coming up first up today. John, of course, longtime executive director of Hockey Night in Canada, now a hockey analyst for both Sportsnet and, of course, CJOB. And I've had a great chance to talk with John a few times on Jets pregame shows. And John's also got a book out right now, which might make a great stocking stuffer. So we'll talk to John about that. The book's Evolve or Die, Hard-Won Lessons from a Hockey Life. So really looking forward to that. And John's very plugged in for the Winnipeg Jets. So we'll chop it up with John. And then Murat of The Athletic will bump on the program one more time before Christmas. Looking forward to having Murat on. And I was thinking yesterday, it has been way too long since we've had Geoff Fienberg on. Announcement with the Masters, allowing some live players, but I think the majority of our conversation will be looking ahead to the weekend in the National Football League. And of course, folks, you know what it is. Marbles today, 2:45 registration will open. Another qualifying race today, just 3 more in the Tournament of Champions, brought to you by Consolidated Supply. Today, tomorrow, Friday, and of course, next Friday will be the championship race where we'll be giving away Winnipeg Blue Bomber season tickets. Hey, just before we bring Michael Remis in, I got to give a big thanks to all the sponsors that make this show happen each and every day, including Coolbet Canada, Princess Auto, Little Brown Jug, Canadian Club, Culligan Water, Vita Health Fresh Market, Wallace & Wallace, Consolidated Supply, F Apparel, Manitoba Battery, the Nick and Nicky DQ Group, Boston Pizza, Royal Sports, and our friends over at Not Auto Corp. Victory Wednesday on WST. Let's get Remis in here and get after it. What's going on?
Yes, Victory Wednesday. In a great mood after that game last night, Hustler. Got to be honest, going in, I was nervous. Someone tweeted at me, a Sens fan's like, what do you think? I saw Bobby Ryan said the Sens were going to win. And I was like, well, I mean, I know the Jets are in a tough spot here. No Hellebuck. The flu is going through the team. The schedule they've been talking about.
You even dropped time zones in that tweet. I saw it.
Injuries, Schmidt and Wheeler. How about, did I mention fatigue from all the games and the schedule and the travel? Still thought the Jets were going to take it. I was nervous. But man, they've just found ways to win over and over again. They're beating the teams they should beat. And guys are coming in, stepping into the lineup like Stenny, getting on the board right away. Who Bones seems to really like him. And how about Big Save Dave? I think Big Save Dave is back.
Big Save Dave is absolutely back.
And I'm starting to think Wade Flaherty is the goalie whisperer. And we're not talking about it because these backups come in here, have a great season, get paid, like Brossois in Vegas, who had a great, I think it was a couple of years here. Eric Comrie went to Buffalo. And now here we are again with Big Save Dave, and I think it was 34 of 35 yesterday. Got off to a rocky start in the first game. I think a lot of it was the team in front of him, but here we are in December in 4 games, 924 save percentage, 232 goals against. So this is what you want from your backup Tandy, and I think the team has confidence in him, and he's played well the last 2 here. What a start to the month for him.
I had absolute deja vu after that first game against Vegas for Big Save Dave to last year with Eric Comrie. And you will recall on this program, I told everyone that was freaking out after one game to pump the brakes and to give the guy a chance. In fact, with Comrie, people were saying that he wasn't an NHL goalie before the season even started and that the team was screwed and they were going to lose every start with him. And by the end of the year, those same people were going, Hellebuck's playing too much. We got to get Comrie more starts. There was a massive overreaction to one period by a good portion of Jet fans to Dave Rittich's start with the Winnipeg Jets. And if you think back to that game against the Vegas Golden Knights, it was 4 goals in the first period. First 2 went in. The third one was like a clearing pass that went off Dave's skate and into the net. Ugly one. And followed that up by basically passing it right to Jack Eichel in the slot, who roofed it, and it was 4-0, and that was it. If you recall that game, though, to the Jets' credit, I remember Nate Schmidt talking about it after the game, saying, hey, we can't start like that, but, we're going to push through this. And they did play much better. They got a couple goals. Dave started making some saves. And really, from that game, it's amazing, Remo, considering that he hasn't played a ton, that his numbers are what you just read out, considering how far in the hole he was right off the bat in game number 1. But Dave Rittich has been everything the Jets could have wanted and more. And for a cheap veteran backup goaltender signing, this has been money well spent. And I have to laugh. And listen, I'm somewhat guilty of it as well. We were really expecting some big changes and some big moves last offseason. But the very underwhelming signings, Kevin Stenlund, we all remember the Stenny and the Jets tweet that we had a laugh about. He's been awesome, and I think he continues to cement his spot on the roster, at least, if not in the top 12. And Dave Rittich has been money well spent right now. And man, that was a time where they really needed him because they weren't planning on having him start. That was a Connor Hellebuck game after David played the last game in Seattle. Hellebuck wasn't good to go. Big save Dave to the rescue last night. And they really needed him, especially in the first period where Ottawa put a lot of rubber on the Winnipeg net. The Jets were the ones to beat Cam Talbot, though, and Rittich was a huge part of that. He got the 3rd star of last night's game. I know Kyle Connor had 2 goals, and Josh Morrissey continues his Morrissey-esque season. But I would have had no issue if Dave Rittich was even higher. I was hoping he might be number 1 to see whether he would pull a Connor Hellebuck riding the stick move or something like that. Dave has been known for some big celebrations in the past, in particular in the Battle of Alberta, if you will, throwing his stick after winning the shootout against the Oilers back in the day, although that wasn't a harbinger of good things to come for he or the Flames at that time.
Yeah, I mean, he's been good. Morrissey continues to be dominant. Kyle Connor continuing. I mean, Kyle Connor, we talked about his slow start. 34 points in his last 23 games. 14 goals. I mean, Pierre-Luc Dubois, we can go on and on. Everyone seems to be having a career year. And look, the Jets didn't have their A game in the first period, but their goalie has made the saves, and the other goalie, other goalies haven't. You've seen the difference, what good goaltending can make with the Jets all season, where you have these squeakers or like that Sam Gagner shotting, that's not going in on the Jets. And he managed to continue to have success with Dubois and Connor yesterday. I mean, what can you say? They, even when they're not at their best, they figure out how to win it. And it kind of reminds me almost of the Bombers in that way, except for the Grey Cup. The Bombers kept finding ways to win when not at their best. But what a role here they're on. And how about Josh Morrissey? Look at this. Him and Kyle Connor, 10-game point streak, but Morrissey has a 10-game assist streak, and the NHL putting this out. He has the longest assist streak by a defenseman in the NHL since 86-87 at 10 games. I know
Josie from last year, but Josie last year was... Makar is up there with 13, but still second most, with tied with Josi at 10. I mean, other defensemen with 10-game assist streaks: Ray Bourque, Sergei Gonchar, Al McInnes, Gary Galley, Phil Housley, Brian Leach, like all-time defensemen. This guy's having an amazing season here. While you're there, why don't you just pull up the NHL site on Twitter? Go to @NHL. Check out the banner. Show that for folks, and I'll describe it for the podcast listeners once you get up. But yes, of course, the National Hockey League verified account @NHL. The avatar still the league logo, but your banner.
What?
Is our guy.
How did
Morrissey
that happen?
Himself, Josh Morrissey. Hey, just showing a little love to a guy that has been one of the best players in the league all season long.
Yeah, it's amazing, Hustler. You look at defensemen has points like assists or even league assists. I mean, he's at the top. I think he's just behind Carlson for defenseman assists and fourth in the league, as we mentioned that yesterday. But I mean, absolutely incredible the season that this guy is having.
He has been, as you said, 32 assists in 32 games. Morrissey right now is second in defenseman scoring, 4 points back of Erik Karlsson. Carlson's having a great bounce back year, 34 games, so he has played 2 more games than Morrissey. 12 goals, 30 assists for 42 points. Rasmus Dahlin for Buffalo, for a team that scores 1 million goals, 37 points, 1 back of Morrissey. Adam Fox at 34. Cale Makar's missed a few games. He's at 24 games, as is Adam Fox, actually, with 28 points. Last night was another example, though. Josh Morrissey was on for pretty much all the goals. I think he was +4 last night. And I mean, let's just talk about the move that he made last night, because as much as it's great to get the assists and he had the goal and the move that he made, and I don't know whether we want to call it, I mean, it was sort of it was like a high-speed spinorama, if you will. A quick stop and pivot into basically a 360, leaving whoever it was in the dust last night. Like, my jaw was dropped, and I said to my pal that I was watching the game with, the confidence level that Josh Morrissey's playing with right now is beyond anything we've seen before from him, and it continues to grow game after game after game, Reem. Man, it's exciting. We've talked so much about this defense core, and there's some other areas of the defense we'll get to, including Billy Hanel's reemergence into the lineup last night in a bit. But, man, when you got a horse playing like Josh Morrissey is right now, it impacts your game in so many different ways and rises the tide of, I think, the entire team. And it's certainly, there's been some great stories in Winnipeg this year, but Josh Morrissey's emergence in his play so far through 32 games has to be right at or near the top of the list, along with Rick Bowness.
Yeah, sorry, I misspoke. 6th longest assist streak by a defenseman since 86, 87. I got ahead of myself there. He's already hit a career high in points, 38 points in 32 games. His other career high, 37 in 79 games last year. I mean, he's, again, among second in defensemen in points, top in assists, 4th in the NHL in assists. And I agree with you. He's doing stuff when he has the puck that maybe you didn't think he was capable of, and he's showing that he is on another level on that. Yes, that spinorama, I don't know, whatever it was. He's finding ways to create room, make passes. It's been amazing to watch, and I mean, what an emergence from him. And I mean, even one other guy too, who's having a great season. And it's kind of like in the shadow of Honor and Morrissey and Hellbuck as Pierre-Luc Dubois. 3rd game in a row, multiple points. He's now 16th in the NHL with 37 points. I mean, how many guys does this team have who are point per game, and they just find ways to keep winning? They're beating the teams that they should beat, and 2 tough ones, Thursday, Friday, Boston and Washington. But Connor Hellbuck called or texted Bowness, said he'll be ready, and he's traveling with the team. And I'm not sure how they're going to do it. Do they give him an extra day's rest against Boston and play him Friday? Or do they go with him in the first game of the back-to-back?
I think they play him against Boston. Hellebuck's going to want to get back in there. There's no doubt about that. He hasn't played the last 2 games. What is interesting, though, if he has a great game, and dare I say, I mean, we can hope that the Jets come out with a result in Boston. Do they throw him back in against Washington, knowing that you've got the next 3 days off for the Christmas holidays and he hadn't played since Saturday? I think that the way Big Save Dave played last night and Sunday, for that matter, I think they'd be very confident to throw him in on against Washington, because, of course, it's right back at it with games on the 27th against Minnesota. The 29th is a home game. It's escaping me who the Jets play that day, Reem.
Minnesota, Vancouver on the 29th?
Oh, Vancouver, that's right. Vancouver on the Thursday, and then in Edmonton on New Year's Eve.
Oh, nice.
So there's a lot of hockey coming right out of the break as well. But here, let's get to the why not question of the day while we're talking about Josh Morrissey, and I'm looking forward to hitting both John Shannon with this as well as Murat. But for you all in the chat and for anyone listening on the podcast, you can always tweet us your thoughts on the not question of the day at Sports Talk WPG, or hit us up afterwards. Pop into YouTube and let us know in the comments if you're watching afterwards. Which Winnipeg Jet is most likely to win season hardware this year, to win a trophy? Is it Josh Morrissey with the Norris? Is it Connor Hellebuck with the Vezina? And dare we say should be in the mix for the Hart. I think the Vezina is far more likely. Or is it Rick Bowness for the Jack Adams? I listened to Rennie last night, and I'm pretty sure, I don't know whether they got to the coaching conversation, but I think we can all agree that Rick Bowness should absolutely be right at or near the top of the list for that award. I think he's got both Hellebuck and Morrissey winning trophies right now. I mean, we've never had one before last year, and Kyle Connor won the Lady Byng, at least of the 2.0 year. Of course, Dale Hawerchuk won the Calder. But it is pretty wild to be on this show, Remo, talking day after day, legitimate conversations about members of the Winnipeg Jets that are at or near the top in their respective positions. And I think you can make a case for every one of those three guys I just mentioned.
Okay, I put out the poll there for the chat, so you can vote. And I think we had this conversation like a month ago or a month and a half ago. And, Josh Morrissey, we were I don't know if we were like joking, but you thought, yeah, he's playing well. He could definitely be a candidate. You started calling him Norrissey, but this Norrissey nickname is definitely for real. He's playing like one of the top defensemen in the league. And if he plays a full season, could for sure be a finalist and has a good chance if he's going to be up there among the leaders in the league and among defensemen in points and assists. Rick Bowness, it's a pretty easy case. I mean, this team was a huge disappointment last year. Didn't make the playoffs. Now they're in first place. You look at other candidates, Lindy Ruff in New Jersey. They've kind of, in their last 10, they've kind of fallen off 3-5-2 in their last 10. And they lost to Carolina last night, almost got shut out. And I think Bruce Cassidy in Vegas. But everyone knew Vegas had a good team last year. They just had everyone injured. And Vegas is in first in the Pacific. So I think Rick Bowness, very good chance at the Jack Adams. And Connor Hellebuck, it's probably him and Sorokin. Or is Vejmelka making a push there with goals saved above expected? I think watch out for Vejmelka. He's good.
Hey, so, we've said he's the second best goalie in the league behind our guy here. And so maybe it's just because we've seen what he does to the Jets, and he's done it to the Leafs as well. It's a very important team to stone if you want to get some little recognition outside. But as far as Morrissey goes and his recognition and the nickname Norrissey, it is taking on a life of its own. I saw Jay Onrate tweeting about that yesterday. I was on Dropping the Name with Dennis Bernstein on Sirius XM NHL Radio on the weekend, and more and more people are paying attention to what's going on here in Winnipeg, especially with the Jets. Has to be all-star defenseman Josh Morrissey in the season that he's had so far. John Shannon is going to join us in a few minutes, but before we do this, Remo, let's hear a little bit of Bones. We won't play it all right now. We'll probably have a little bit before Murat, particularly on, we'll maybe talk a little bit more about Ville Heinola with Murat. But let's get to number one right off the bat, because Bones, in typical Bones fashion, did not sugarcoat the entire game because of what the scoreboard said. Here was his analysis of what he saw from his hockey team last night beating the Ottawa Senators.
No, we didn't like the first period at all. And the discussion was, let's not be fooled by the score. And don't be fooled by the score. We didn't like our first at all. Just unnecessary turnovers. In the whole game, for me, it's ridiculous how many unnecessary shots we give up just because of our puck management through the whole game. But listen, we love the 2 points. We needed the win. We got it. We got away with things tonight that we will not get away with Thursday and Friday. But we made the most of our opportunities. We got some big saves when we needed them. And we play at times we played very smart. And at times we just played very loose.
I'm going to just tee you up. All right, so there was Rick Bowness after last night's game, and wasn't entirely pleased, I think, to say the least, with the way that his team came out. And it's interesting what he had to say after the first period. I believe something on the lines of "Don't let the scoreboard fool you." But from there on in, the Winnipeg Jets really took over that hockey game.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't like their first period, Huss, and they came and said as much and, really brought it in the second there. And look, they know when they're playing well and when they're not, and they're not afraid to have these open conversations saying, hey, yeah, we're leading here after one, but we got a lot more to give here. And they stepped it up in the second. Maybe took their foot off the gas a little in the third, and score effects played a part, but they're able to lock it down and, not let Ottawa get back in it, because we have seen, the Jets have a lead in the third, and the other team, Carolina, scores a couple empty net goals, and all of a sudden they're back in the game.
I don't remember that at all. Did that even happen this year? That's ancient history, Reem. Ancient history.
How about this note about the Jets in the third period, Huss? 0.88 goals against average in the third period. That is the 6th lowest in the NHL. So the Jets doing a great job. Yeah, that's even with that one game, Huss, where they allowed all the goals, where Carolina had the goals, had the goalie pulled. So they shut it down, didn't let him, didn't let him get back in it, and walked away with the 2 points, which they needed. They got a really tough schedule, Huss. It's a big meat grinder here in December. Big meat grinder.
We've talked a lot about that, but man, it's been impressive to see how they survive. I'm looking forward to hearing what John Shannon has to say about last night's game and the Jets so far. Of course, he's done great work following the club and contributing over on CJOB, and we'll tell you about his new book as well. Just before we do that, folks, the holidays are here, and we all know how important it is to give back in and around the holidays, and there's so many individuals in our community that are doing exactly that, donating their time, their resources to helping those in need. Now, the Unsung Hero program we're doing with Josh Morrissey and Wallace & Wallace is not specific to the holidays, but I think in December, this is a perfect time to let us know about some of the unsung hero in your community and in your life that's doing their part to make Christmas a little brighter for people around this time of year. What we need from you is to send us an email, unsunghero@winnipegsportstalk.com. Let us know about how this person in your life is maybe going about their business, helping others. Of course, we've got an autographed Josh Morrissey jersey we'll be giving away in early January to our December winner of the Unsung Hero Award. And Wallace & Wallace is going to donate $500 in the name of the Winnipeg Sports Talk nominator to the Dream Factory. And Josh and Margot Morrissey are going to match that. So $1,000 to a great charity, and we'll be able to tell the story of someone making a difference at this time of the year. So send us those emails. Get them in if you can over the course of the next week. UnsungHero@winnipegsportstalk.com. And a huge thanks to our friends at Wallace & Wallace for their great support of Winnipeg Sports Talk. And, of course, this program with the Dream Factory and Josh Morrissey. We mentioned Consolidated Supply. Folks, if you're thinking about a hot tub for 2023, give Spicy and Joe a call down or pop down and see him at 1395 Niagara Road East. Maybe you want a tricked out golf cart. Maybe you just want to start envisioning the snow to be gone and taking care of that great new project you've got. Maybe an outdoor kitchen, adding a hot tub. They've got it all at Consolidated Supply. Not to mention Winnipeg's best selection and your first choice for small engine parts. CTE.ca is their new website. And of course, they are providing the 2023 Bomber season tickets that will be given away a week Friday in the finals of the Marbles Tournament of Champions. So make sure to join us then for that. Hey, with the holidays here, gang, you can support local for the holidays at Vita Health Fresh Market. Give the gift of health with a Vita gift card, some essential oils, candles, bath bombs, chocolates, and so much more. And of course, you'll be supporting a great local company, family owned and operated since 1936, with Winnipeg's largest assortment of local products too. You could also stock up on some of your favorite holiday food items like stuffing, cranberry sauce, non-alcoholic wines and drinks, plant-based turkey options for more. And you can also get great prices on natural and organic supplements, beauty products, and groceries at any of the 7 Vita Health Fresh Market stores. Vita Health Fresh Market, empowering people to lead healthy lives. 7 Winnipeg locations, including the newest store in Linden Ridge, and online at myvita.ca. All right, really looking forward to this next conversation, folks. We'll hit the Jets, but we'll also talk about some of the big stories around the National Hockey League, as well as the book Evolve or Die, Hard-Won Lessons from a Hockey Life. Let's welcome in longtime Canadian sportscaster, producer, and former HNIC panelist John Shannon. John, best of the season to you, and thanks so much for joining us on Winnipeg Sports Talk. How are you?
Andrew, I'm great. Merry Christmas. Looking forward to it, and looking forward to the Jets season. It's been fun to watch so far.
Has it ever? We do this every day, John, talking with Jet fans and the guys coming in. And listen, I think for obvious reasons, there was there was some pessimism around this fan base considering what happened last season. There was a lot of people that had sort of checked out, which was, I think, scary to the organization. Needless to say, many of them are back now. And it seemingly has all started with Rick Bowness. But I mean, you've been around the game for so long. Taking a step back, but following the game as closely as you have, especially with this team, how would you categorize the turnaround from the way last season ended for this Winnipeg Jets to where we stand today with this team battling for first place in the Central Division?
Oh, I don't think anybody could have predicted this. As much as we think that Rick is a great coach, and we all know he wasn't first choice. Let's be honest. And he's well aware of that too. When you think that Barry Trotz was supposed to be the guy to resurrect the franchise, and you're right, the fans had checked out. If I had told you, middle of July, that they would be standing and cheering Mark Scheifele and Blake Wheeler the way they were criticizing them all last summer, you would have told me I was full of something. And it truly, Andrew, I think this is one of the top 3 stories in the National Hockey League. It just so happens it's being created in one of the smallest markets in the NHL, probably doesn't get the attention it deserves, but the Winnipeg Jets are one of the top 3 stories in the NHL for this season. There's no doubt about it.
How well did you know Bones before, through your crossing paths over the years? And what did you think about Rick Bowness and his ability to come in what is in all likelihood his final stop as a head coach in the National Hockey League and create the change that this team obviously needed coming out of last season?
The one thing I know about Rick, I'm never going to say it's his last of anything.
Good point.
He will surprise us all. Well, I've known Rick since he played. One of my first jobs way back when was to produce Winnipeg Jets Hockey 1.0. I was in Pittsburgh that first night in October of 1979, sitting with John Ferguson and the crew at that point. So, and then I remember I was teasing Rick when he got this job. I said, "Are you going to wear that leather jacket that you wore behind the bench when you and Tommy were back there?" And he was the assistant coach for Tom McVie. I've followed his journeys in every city, whether it's Boston or Long Island or Tampa or Arizona. He and I have been great friends for a long period of time, and he's one of those people that I think when you consider the length of time we've all been in the game, he's the type of guy that gives you the reason to stay in the game. He is such a good person. I got to know his son Ryan now, who's got his own career path in the National Hockey League as assistant general manager in Ottawa now. So I view Rick as a very good friend, and I'm thrilled for him, the achievement he's made in his return to Winnipeg.
You mentioned Mark Scheifele and Blake Wheeler, and I am absolutely with you. Listen, we spent a lot of time talking about what Mark Scheifele had to say at the end of last season. I think there were very legitimate questions as to whether he would even be a Winnipeg Jet at the beginning of the season. The way he has come back and embraced everything that Rick Bowness has, the marching orders, if you will, from the new coach has been a huge part of it. But I mean, I have to ask your perspective on Rick's first act, taking the captaincy away from Blake Wheeler, announcing that this was going to be a group effort, and the way Blake Wheeler has responded to it with another phenomenal season and being so important when a lot of people had written him off. I mean, I don't know about you, John. I kind of thought that this could go one of two ways. It's not an easy way to start it off with the new head coach for that to be the case. And it really seems like it's all come together and maybe even beyond the best case scenario.
Well, I was one of those guys that was trying to do the math to think if the Jets could buy Wheeler out last summer, if it made sense for them to buy him out with a cash crunch and a cap crunch. I still thought at that point it might have made sense, but 2020 hindsight, it was a brilliant move not to, and a brilliant move to to tell the club, to tell the fan base that there is a new leadership group. They did a lot of soul searching, and you witnessed it much closer than I did, Andrew, when the players came out at the end of the season, whether it be Kyle Connor or Nick Ehlers, even Paul Stastny when he was there, and talked about, there's need for culture change. And I think, quite frankly, I think Rick heard that. I think he heard it loud and clear from lots of people. And then as a guy who's almost Rick's age, when you get older, you just say what you want to say. You don't have to worry about diplomacy. And I think that's really played into Rick's advantage, that he can walk in and say, listen, this is the way it's going. We're not happy. We're going to fix it. I think the other one moment, particularly in the preseason, Andrew, that changed it for me was the night in a post-game press conference. He talked a lot about players playing the shifts far too long. And this was a message for, and all you had to do was go into the stats page and go and look at Jets time on ice and see Wheeler, 114, Scheifele, 121. There were a couple of other guys a little higher than they should be. He wants 45 to 50-second shifts. And you better listen to that. And that to me was, he wasn't pointing fingers directly at them. He wasn't embarrassing them, but he was calling them out. And I think that was really important because they knew that he was different. And he had an agenda that was going to win for everybody. And I think from that point on, it's been one of the great stories of the league.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's hard not to sometimes get into these conversations about everything Rick Bowness has done without sort of comparing them to the long Paul Morrissey era and the differences. But I will say this, the one word that we talked about this team needing more than anything at the end of last year was collective accountability. Mm-hmm. I think he has established that really from day one, even in the preseason with that great example you just made about the shift length, which was directly targeted at his star players. Everyone that, as you mentioned, could read the game sheet could know. But on top of that, the frank honesty with the way he obviously deals with the players, because he comes out and tells us the same thing. He says, don't worry, they've all heard this already. Even after wins, like last night, he did not like the first period. It was pretty clear, and he told the guys as much. Don't let the scoreboard fool you after the first period. These messages have resonated, and wow, it has just been phenomenal to see how much he's been able to get out of this club that I think everyone realized had way more talent than they showed on the ice last year.
And certainly it is not a knock at what Paul did at all, because but Paul realized it that moment that he walked into the press conference to announce that he was stepping down was because he knew they needed a new voice. He knew they needed to hear different things. This has been one of the best teams in the NHL on paper for a long time, Andrew. A long time. And it has not reflected on the ice what we thought on the paper. This was a big team of big names, and I'm sure guys like Dustin Byfuglien aren't there anymore. But, this is a team that's got a Vezina Trophy winner. It's got a high draft pick, a guy that's not getting enough attention in the Norris Trophy discussions as the best defenseman. It's got a top 6 forward group that is as good as any in the NHL. Now, on paper, they look great. Now they have a chance to prove it, and they are proving it on the ice.
You mentioned Josh Morrissey. I mean, I don't want to say he's been a revelation, John, because I think anyone that's watched this team knows how good he is and has been at times in the past. But the way he's raised his game to a whole nother level, especially offensively, and the work he's given Rick Bowness in both ends has been, well, it's opening some eyes. It's sparked the nickname Morrissey. Everyone's having a lot of fun with it. But what have you seen from Josh and the way he's elevated his game and the way he's sort of taken all of the challenges of being more engaged? Rick Bowness said, we got 20 goals from the defense last year. That wasn't enough. Our D are coming. I don't know if there's a better example of that than what Josh is doing, and he's been handling his own end as well.
Well, I see swagger. I see confidence. That goal he scored last night, the one move and, pick the corner. The slap pass that he's used the last couple of games to set guys up, whether it be Scheifele or someone else for a goal. There is an air of confidence in Morrissey that, quite frankly, the last time I saw it was in junior hockey in Kelowna. You know, and I'm going to ask you, Andrew. I mean, the last 2 or 3 years, Morrissey leveled off. There was an expectation. You know, when we talked about an Olympic team in 2018, Josh Morrissey was supposed to be on that Olympic team. And then what happened in 19 and 20 and 21? He leveled off. And what's happening now is that we're that growth, the growth in his game and his confidence and his swagger, quite frankly, has returned, and the Jets are better for it.
Well, and it's funny you bring that up, John, because I think in a lot of ways, this goes back to Rick Bowness. This goes back to the systems that he's been implementing. It goes back to getting the forwards to buy in on a 5-man unit defending and being there for their teammates. To be honest, and Nate Schmidt, I think, at the beginning of last year was in the same situation. These guys have offensive talent. They would see an opportunity, but more often than not, if it didn't go well in the offensive end, they didn't have it properly covered back, and there was another 2 or 3 on 1 on Connor Hellebuck, and you do that often enough, you end up on the wrong side of it, and they did. And you know, the way that the forwards have bought into covering for these guys and really giving that defense core the opportunity to be as aggressive as the coaches have wanted them to, has borne out in the scoreboard right now, and especially when you look at the scoring leaders. Let me ask you this, John, because we've talked so much about Rick Bowness for obvious reasons. I think he should be at, if not near, the top of the Jack Adams conversation. Josh Morrissey's certainly in the Norris conversation. And then you've got Connor Hellebuck. We were kicking it around. We've got to pull up in the chat right now. Which of those 3 Winnipeg Jets is most likely to win a trophy at the end of the season in your mind?
I suspect it's Connor. But I wouldn't discount Rick. And one of the reasons I would say that is, you know, there's a different voting group for the coach of the year than there is for the Vezina. And so the broadcasters, I think, will be well enough informed about the growth of this team in the regular season to vote for Rick. And you know, the general managers will be smart enough to see what Connor Hellebuck has meant to this hockey club. Everything we've talked about, Morrissey being good, Scheifele being good, playing with confidence, 5-man units, is all predicated on good goaltending. And Connor Hellebuck has given them the good goaltending, and you know, last night's a good example that when you are forced to put David Riddick in, you need to get wins out of him too. And I was a doubting Thomas when they signed him because I was disappointed that Eric Comrie got let go. And you know, David's doing his job right now. Big Save Dave is coming through for the team right now, and that's a positive.
Yeah, I mean, he had that one we kind of were talking about at the beginning of the show, that one ugly first period in Vegas where 4 goals went in.
I remember that was a back-to-back. That was a back-to-back from Colorado the night before, and he wasn't the only guy that was bad that night in Vegas. So.
The timing, but you know what? That's part of the backup job, right? I mean, you're going to get those unfortunate starts. And listen, there's a lot of people that freaked out. They battled back in that second and third period. He stepped up, and you know, he's done a great job. And here's a question. I'd be interested if this has been mentioned to you in some of your conversations about the Jets goaltending. How much credit does Wade Flaherty get? I mean, is he like a backup whisperer? The job that he did with Eric Comrie, and in a lot of ways, David Rittich looks back to like some of the best hockey that he played at a time. Let's not forget he was a starter at one point in the NHL.
Yeah, he was. It was, and you know, he's a fiery Czech. I remember sitting with David one day in the dressing room in Calgary, saying that, you know, you're the second most emotional Czech goalie I've ever been around. And he said, "Who's the other?" And I said, "Dom Hasek." And he looked at me like I was crazy. But that was at a point when Riddick was, you know, doing everything after the game and celebrating. Wade Flaherty is one of those. Listen, there are so many great secrets in Winnipeg. There really are. There are so many great secrets, whether it be the arena, the fan base, Josh Morrissey. Wade Flaherty is one of those great secrets in Winnipeg and has done a marvelous job.
John Shannon is with us. John, before I ask you about the book, I want to ask you not about the Winnipeg Jets for a minute, but about the Buffalo Sabres. And we knew they came in. I mean, Eric Comrie was there, Craig Anderson. They had a young core of players that were pretty exciting, led by Tage Thompson. He had that breakout season last year, and there were a lot of eyebrows raised when they signed him to the extension that's looking pretty damn good right now. has there ever been like a first round pick, granted, it was at the end of the first round, but a late bloomer to explode the way Tage Thompson is? I mean, he's in the mix for the Rocket Richard right now. And I had a conversation with some buddies yesterday. If you redrafted the 2016 draft right now, where he would go. I mean, I think Austin Matthews is still number one, but I think it's probably likely that Tage Thompson is number two. I mean, what have you made about the resurgence of the Sabres, but in particular their young top center?
Well, just like we've talked about Rick having strong communication skills with the Jets, Don Granato is really good with young players. And I think that what's happened in Buffalo, and it's partly due to culture in Buffalo. The Eichel trade in many ways was the watershed moment. The black cloud was lifted. Jack, in the end, obviously did not want to be there. Alex Tuck came back there and was almost in tears that he got to wear the sweater of his boyhood team. And then it became almost, I'm going to stretch it a bit. It became almost chic in Western New York to be a Buffalo Sabre. It became, well, that's cool. I like to be a Sabre too. Then Kevin Adams has drafted well too. And by the way, we better give Jason Botterill credit for the Tage Thompson trade, because it was Jason Botterill that was forced to trade Ryan O'Reilly, and got Thompson in the deal. And then on top of what Kevin has done, they drafted Owen Power. We think we know what Owen Power is going to be. Rasmus Dahlin has become what Rasmus Dahlin was supposed to. And then we're smart enough to go and sign Eric Comrie, albeit that he's hurt now. And they're actually getting better goaltending than I think a lot of people thought they would, with Craig Anderson, and I'm only going to say his last name because I trip up all the time, with Luukkonen in net. And so they've been a really nice story. Are they going to make the playoffs? No, they're not. But they're going in the right direction finally, and people in Western New York are absolutely thrilled about it, and they're a fun team to watch. And Thompson's a big reason. I can't imagine being 6'7" and be able to stick handle in a phone booth and do what he does. I mean, I'd love to know what the lie of his stick is, to be honest.
John, you mentioned the playoffs, and right now in the East, there's only the three teams, those top teams in the Atlantic, and you've got both wild cards coming from the Metropolitan right now. Are the Florida Panthers going to make the playoffs?
I have my doubts about Florida. I have my doubts about Washington. And, before the season started, I think a lot of people probably had Washington on their list, and they probably had Boston on that list. And so we're 50%, either 50% right or 50% wrong. Florida's in tough. If Florida is in tough, they've got too much money invested in goaltending, more than any other team in the league, over $13 million. And their $10 million guy isn't the number one goalie right now. If Paul is forced to put his best goalie on the ice at this point, it's Spencer Knight. And Spencer Knight has struggled a little bit in the last couple of games.
And now the Boston Bruins are the next opponent. Just before we talk about this book coming up, 25-4-2. They've been missing Jeremy Swayman for a good portion. It's been Ullmark that's now in the Vezina conversation, along with our guy Connor Hellebuck. I mean, we talk a lot about Rick Bowness. Jim Montgomery's done a hell of a job, and this is a team. Is this a last hurrah for this group, or if they're the top team in the league right now, I mean, you would think that, but it's wild. I mean, getting Krejci back, how have they done this, and how surprised are you that we're talking about the Boston Bruins as the standard right now heading into Christmas in this league?
There's a couple of things I think that stand out. First of all, Montgomery's one of those guys that has a great approach with young players as well. And let's face it, Andrew, this is a young players league now. This is not a veteran players league. This is, you got to make sure you have a good mix of players, veteran players, but guys on entry-level deals. So they're younger and they're still learning how to play the NHL game. Jake DeBrusk has been reinvented, playing with Marchand and Bergeron after his demands to be traded when Bruce Cassidy was the coach, because he thought Cassidy didn't like him. And I'll tell you what, Hampus Lindholm is a stud. And, lots of people didn't hear of Lindholm very much when he played in Anaheim, but Hampus Lindholm does amazing things for the Boston Bruins on defense. And he was doing them all that time before Charlie McAvoy came back. And so they've got solid goaltending. They've got two really, really strong defensemen. And they've got depth at forward. And people are having fun going to games. And that's really important. And Taylor Hall, for all his foibles, Taylor Hall has become the perfect third-line forward. And I don't think I'd ever been able to say that before in my life. Taylor Hall's playing the game he should be playing as a third liner and on the second power play.
Hey, you know what? You got to get a player like that that's had the success that he's had to buy into it. They've obviously got it, and what a luxury to have a player like that.
Or lack of success is really, when you think about Hall's career, with all the hype, he never really reached the potential of being that first overall pick. And now there's less pressure on him to perform, and he's just doing it at a perfect level, and it's a really nice story.
Yeah, it's great. John Shannon's with us now. John, for people that don't know, you have one of the most interesting resumes, I would say, in sports media, period, but certainly within the hockey world. Longtime executive producer of Hockey Night in Canada, later on becoming an analyst and being in front of the camera. Can't imagine how many conversations you've had with people in the hockey world over the course of your career, but it's all led to a book, Evolve or Die, Hard-Won Lessons from a Hockey Life. Tell us a little bit about the idea of writing a book and what you wanted to cover in it. Folks, you can see the book right there if you're with us on YouTube. There it is.
Well, I'll be honest, I didn't really want to write a book initially. Yeah, but Andrew, you've traveled, you've been around the clubs, and you've been on the road with guys. I mean, heck, I'm sure in Qatar there was a few nice dinners you had. And at the end of the night, somebody would turn to you and say, that was a great story. You should write a book. You put together 5 different little vignettes, and people laughed, or people cried, or people went, wow. And they said, hey, that's kind of cool. You should write a book. Well, to me, writing a book was always going to be work, and you and I have never worked a day in our lives in this industry, Andrew. You know that.
I agree with you. 100%.
So it took 5 years for a publishing company and a book agent to convince me to write a book, and I did. Just over 2 years ago, they finally took me to lunch one day and said, "Would you do it? Would you do it this way?" And I said, "Oh, you know what? Okay." I was at a time in my life where I had more time. I was doing my stuff at CJOB. Obviously, I was doing a similar thing in Edmonton, and doing a little bit of Sports Network still, plus some stuff in Vancouver. And so I had time to set aside a couple of hours a day and do 1,000 words a day if I could. And then we went around the process of figuring out what the story would be about, and because I didn't think just a biography of me would sell. But I think telling stories about the great people I have touched, that have touched me, and those in my mind, the 4 most famous words in Canadian sports broadcasting, I think would drive a lot, and that's Hockey Night in Canada. And I still love the show. I have loved it since I was a child. I used to pinch myself every day I worked on it. I pinched myself twice a day when I ran it. And I think there's enough that people who have any memories of what they loved about Hockey Night, what they love about hockey, and if you're a broadcasting nerd like we are, you'll enjoy it. And there's a little bit of leadership in it. There's a little bit of personal reflection, of learning about how to treat people and managing my life and managing my family's life, that I think people can walk away and say, hey, that was a nice read, and he's not a bad guy.
John Shannon's with us on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Evolve or Die is the book. I can't wait to dive into it just for the hockey stories, but also you mentioned being, interested in the sports media and broadcasting.
Yeah.
Got to ask you, as we go into 2023, it's been a crazy, a few years, 10 years, 15 years. What do you make of the landscape of the business that you've spent your entire life in right now as we go into the new year?
Well, it's different. But yet again, it's not. There are 2 constants in all this, Andrew. There's the games and there's the consumer. What's really changed is that part in the middle, which is where you and I earn our livings. And to be the conduit between the event and the fan is really what's changed, and what's happened in years and years of covering it is it's exploded. I mean, the fact that you are doing a, for want of a better word, a radio show on my computer now on YouTube, and people have access to it on a daily and regular basis, tells you that content is still there. Content is still in demand, but it's just that conduit of how we watch it. I mean, look what's happened in the NFL. Amazon Prime is smack in the middle of NFL rights and paying millions and millions and millions of dollars for a Thursday night game. That's going to happen in our country with hockey. That's going to happen in our country with other sports. So our world really, as much as we think it's changed, it hasn't really changed as much as the landscape. And just it's how people consume it now has changed so much different.
John, this was a real treat having you on the program today. I can't thank you enough. And it's always a pleasure when I get to jump on with you and the gang over talking Jets on CJOB. Where can people get the book? Is Amazon the best spot? Is it in stores right now? I mean, people want to put that under the tree. Where do they get their hands on it?
It is in bookstores across the country. It is on Amazon.ca. It's on IndigoChapters.ca. And I know you have American viewers. I see the comments, Andrew. It is on Amazon.com too for our American friends. So yeah, it's been a labor of love. I actually went to a bookstore this morning, and I was trying to make sure that they didn't move it to the fiction section. But it's still kind of strange to see my name sitting there. And I was between a Ken Dryden book and a Scotty Bowman book, and I thought, man, that's kind of cool.
About time you added author to the CV, John. And folks, hey, if you are in Winnipeg, you can pick it up at the McNally Robinson bookstore. We know that it is there.
Beautiful.
And we've already had someone pick it up. John, have a wonderful Christmas. Thanks for doing this, and hopefully we can get you back on sometime in the new year, and I'll look forward to chopping it up with you on the pregame show as well.
You guys call anytime you want, and Merry Christmas to everybody. And those of you that are lighting candles, Happy Hanukkah.
Thanks so much. There it is, John Shannon. Of course, John, I mean, what a coup for OB to have John and his incredible knowledge and experience jumping on the post-game show quite often. It's always a thrill when I get to jump on with him, and that was a really fun conversation. Check out the book, Evolve or Die, Hard-Won Lessons from a Hockey Life. All right, we're going to get Murat coming up in a few minutes. Hey, folks, it's freezing outside. I don't think I need to remind you, but we need to acknowledge it. And if you have been crossing your fingers and saying Hail Marys every time you walk out to your car hoping that it will start, I got a better solution for you. Give Donnie and the gang at Manitoba Battery a call, and they'll deliver you a new battery. You'll save time, you'll save money, you'll be shopping local, and you'll know for damn sure that when you're getting out at whatever time you got to go to work or take the kids to hockey, that sucker's going to turn, it's going to warm up, and it's going to get you from point A to point B. Listen, this is the part of winter that really does suck. We're dealing with it right now. If you are wondering whether you need a new battery, you can, of course, get it tested. It's completely free. If you pop down and see the gang at 1026 Logan Avenue, they'll do it quick and easy. And if you need to know one, they'll hook you up. Otherwise, if you do know that you need one, you can save the gas, you can certainly save the time, and you'll get the best deal on batteries in town for your automobile or truck at Manitoba Battery. So give them a ring, pop down and see them at 1026 Logan Avenue. And you can also order them online. If they get your order by 3 p.m., they can deliver it anywhere within the city on the same day. Shout out and a happy holidays to Donnie and the gang over at Manitoba Battery. Folks, I know many of you are commenting on this sweet new Winnipeg Sports Talk hat. Yeah, we did a different version. The Winnipeg Sports Talk word mark in the bomber blue and gold, and they're ready for you. They're ready for Christmas. They're available right now. The best spot to get them and the best spot to do all of your Christmas shopping for the sports fan in the family or in your circle is, of course, Royal Sports. All the new Winnipeg Sports Talk hats are there. The amazing new era WST toques also available, not to mention thousands of pieces of Winnipeg Jets merchandise, including the new retro reverse jerseys, bomber gear out there, yin yang, with many exclusives only available at Royal, not to mention World Cup soccer, Major League Baseball, merch from around the National Hockey League. It has to be seen to be believed. The biggest hockey selection in town of equipment, sticks, goalie equipment, and more. Not to mention snowboards, roller skates, and an amazing Yeti section. So for those of you that spend a lot of time outdoors, coolers, campers, they've got it all. The best Yeti section around. Knock them all off the list with one trip to Royal Sports, 750 Pembina Highway. And make sure to follow them on Instagram because they've got great daily story updates on merchandise drops, great holiday gift ideas, and sale information. And hey, as we get ready for next week, it is Boxing Day and Boxing Week. And I got to tell you, the fellas at F Apparel are ready to go all out for Boxing Week. Check out these deals beginning on Boxing Day throughout the week. All custom clothing, suits, dress shirts, etc. will be 20% off. Unbelievable deal. Off-the-rack items like sweaters, polos, and more, they've got an amazing selection of those, will be 30% off. And all accessories, guys, if you need accessories, ties, tie bars, socks, pocket squares, belts, all that stuff, 50% off. The sale runs in store and as well as online from December 26th to December 21st. And listen, there still is time to pop into 190 Smith Street downtown and grab an F Apparel gift card just in time for the holidays. And again, that's EPHapparel.com online. All right, let's get Remo back in here. We're going to have Murat Tesh join us in a few minutes. What a great convo that was with John Shannon, huh?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he spent so much time working in hockey, working at Hockey Night in Canada, and a contributor to CJOB, so pretty well versed on what's going on with the Jets. And yeah, I had a friend said, hey, you should have John Shannon on. He's got this book out. I'm pretty interested. So definitely some great life experience there, and I'm looking forward to getting into that one too.
No doubt. Speaking of broadcasting, I got to give a shout out to Ryan Moyer, who's been the longtime stats guy for Winnipeg Jets hockey, spending most of his time right now in Edmonton and Calgary. But he was in town last night for the Ottawa game, doing the Ottawa Sens stats for TSN. And I got a chance to talk to John Abbott and Noodles after the game as well, who, of course, John Abbott was on the show yesterday. Just one of the nicest guys in the business. It was great to see him and good to talk to Jamie off air as well. Noodles, being the goalie, high praise for Big Save Dave in his game last night and what he's done so far this season. But listen, before we get to Murat Remo, I wouldn't mind cracking into a couple of these other clips that you put together. I know we got into John a little bit early. Let's go right to number 2 because as we played before, Bones not particularly pleased with the way the first period was played and the amount of rubber on his netminder. I think he thought his team came around in the second period. Here's what the head coach had to say about period 2.
Much better. We did. We were fine. It was a whole lot better than the first. So, yeah. Again, we capitalized on the chances. They just missed a lot of open nets and some dangerous areas that, anyways, it just goes back to our ability to manage the puck and the unnecessary shots and unnecessary time we spend in our zone. And I've said this in training camp, we have a lot of work to do. And that's tonight shows me that we still do. And we love the 2 points. We love that we needed the win. We got it. And let's be honest with how we played. We can play better than that. That 5-1 is a whole lot different than the 5-1 in Vancouver, where we played an outstanding 60 minutes. But again, with everything that's been going on with the team and to the injuries and the travel and everything, we needed the win. We got it.
Well, there's Bones on the turnaround in the second period. And listen, I said yesterday on the program, that game yesterday from a Jet fan perspective made me really nervous. A tough spot. Talked about the schedule, how much hockey they'd played, the back-to-backs, a game, travel, back-to-backs again. And, of course, the Boston Bruins in their next game up. But, they managed to, make the most of their opportunities. And, again, David Riddick was a huge part. We'll hear about Riddick in a moment, but Josh Morrissey, first star last night. It's on the banner of the NHL Twitter account right now, and deservedly so. The nickname Morrissey is picking up steam. His point streak continues, and he's turning heads, not just here in Winnipeg, but around the league. Bones was asked to talk a little bit about the hockey IQ possessed by Josh Morrissey.
Elite hockey IQ. That's what he has. Elite players are one step ahead. That's what they see. Josh has that ability with his hockey IQ. He's one step ahead of what's going to happen next, and that's why he's able to read the play, break up plays. He's get there first. His gaps and all those things. It's really his ability to stay one step ahead. And again, any elite player in any sport has that high IQ for that sport, and he certainly has it.
Yeah, well, not only with the hockey IQ, but he's putting it all together right now, having one of the great seasons in the National Hockey League, regardless of position, and certainly right up near the top of the list when we're talking about candidates for the top defenseman in the league so far this season. But it was Big Save Dave last night. He was the guy in the first period, certainly deserved to be on the podium as one of the 3 stars last night. A very impressive performance coming off a start where he probably could have deserved a better fate in Seattle on Sunday night. Here was the head coach on Big Save Dave.
Yeah, no, he looks very comfortable in the net. Again, give Wade Flaherty a lot of credit because he works very hard with him, and you give David a lot of credit because he comes to the rink every day and he's ready to work. And he is very, for a guy who didn't play much last year and didn't have a great year, for him to come to camp with the attitude and the work habits and everything else, give him a lot of credit. The guys feel very, very confident when David's in the net, and that's a compliment to him.
All right, there's Bones. Rick Bowness on Big Save Dave. And the other guy that I think Monday we talked about Dave quite a bit with the way that he played against Seattle. And the other guy that I was mentioning on our weekly stock watch report, the guy that did the most to boost his stock was Kevin Stenlund. And there was Big Sten, not to be confused with Big Stan, Stenny getting the Jets on the board early in the first period. Bones with some praise for his fourth line center.
Well, he has. He wins face-offs. He's big and he's strong and he's hanging on to the puck. And we need that fourth line needed a boost. He's given it that boost. And he's a good player. He's a smart player. We're seeing things now that we didn't see in training camp. So compliment to him. And again, I gave Mark Morrissey and his staff a lot of credit for getting him turned around, getting his career turned around, and coming up here and doing a good job for us.
All right, there's Rick Bowness on the Moose call-up Kevin Stenlund, who's opened some eyes and continues to impress. There was another Moose call-up in the lineup last night, and it was Ville Heinola. And I know there was a lot of people, and Ville's a bit of a polarizing guy. There are Ville stans out there that, listen, there's a lot of big people that are big fans of Ville Heinola that are hoping for big things from him. And we're disappointed that he didn't play on the weekend. Well, he got his chance last night against Ottawa, and we think he'll get his chance over the next few days. But Rick Bowness was asked by our friend Ken Wiebe about what he thought about Ville Heinola's performance last night. This is what he had to say.
We know Ville hadn't played since December 3rd. What did you think of his return to the lineup?
Yeah, he was okay.
Did not expand very much. He was okay. We'll take that for what it's worth, and we'll see what Murat has to say from The Athletic on the topic, and many more who joins us now. Murat, what's up? How are you doing? I hear you were hitting the muscle relaxers last night. You hanging in there or what?
Friday night, I guess this constitutes throwing out your back, but I've had some spasms that have kept me on the floor with the ice and the heat and the painkillers and all of that for the last little while. Stayed at home, caught the game on TV from my floor last night. But we're doing okay. I think this is a step in the right direction today, and so happy to be here. And thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for toughing it out. And man, as someone that has had back issues before, there is nothing worse. So hopefully you're feeling better real soon. By the way, great to see so many people in here, folks. Hit that thumbs up button on the YouTube if you haven't already, and if you aren't already subscribed, hit that red subscribe button. Murat, I'll be honest, I was nervous about that game last night going in, just with the amount of hockey the team had played, the teams that they played, knowing what was to come later on this week. I think it was a very important 2 points for the Winnipeg Jets to get. I wasn't entirely sure what we were going to see. And I think the first period had a little bit of both. Some good, resourceful, making the most of opportunities, and Big Save Dave stepping up. Rick Bowness didn't particularly like the first period and said as much after the game. And then things turned around when, the team really comfortably took control of it. How did you see last night's matchup?
Yeah, you know what? I heard Rick Bowness sort of complain about the first period, so to speak. And I think Josh Morrissey also told the reporters that, it really wasn't a Picasso out there. For me, I thought that during the first period, if the Jets were playing against a really high-quality team, that wouldn't have gone nearly as well for them. At the same time, when Kevin Stenlund scores his goal, it's 2 minutes into the game, and he finishes his own rebound off of a nice pass from behind the goal line, great fourth-line shift. Well, his goal was Winnipeg's third scoring chance from a low-to-high play 2 minutes into the game. So I'm talking a pass from behind the goal line into the slot area. And that's an area where Winnipeg was able to create against Ottawa all night. Even when the Senators adapted to it, Winnipeg was getting those plays, and you later saw Pierre-Luc Dubois set up Kyle Connor for a beauty in the exact same style. I think if Ottawa were a better team at defending the cycle and defending that particular play, then the shot clock of the first period, where Ottawa actually outshot Winnipeg tremendously, might have translated a little bit more into the score. But the defense on the Senators' part didn't hold up, and Winnipeg knew what it needed to do, and it finished. So it took the lead, even though it wasn't necessarily playing a beautiful style of hockey.
Well, we may as well start off with Kevin Stenlund. I mean, other of the top players sort of took the show over later on, and Kyle Connor, and we'll get to Dave Riddick. But, I mean, I loved Stenlund's game on the weekend. I thought he was one of the best players on the squad, and, we've seen guys from the Moose come up so far this season, Jansen Harkins, Mikey Siesimont, now Kevin Stenlund, and make the most of their opportunity. I mean, in your opinion, how much do you think Stenny has done to help his cause at staying in the lineup and be a part of this team, maybe even after some of the other guys that they're waiting for get healthy?
I mean, after everybody gets healthy, I have a tough time finding a spot for him. But on the route to that point, I think I have plenty of time for him to keep a job, ahead of some of the other guys in that bottom six mix. And I went back to my training camp notes, Huss, when Stenlund got called up, and I was writing about him in the exact same paragraphs as Maynalainen, and that's partly because they were paired together often. But all of the notes are, this guy looks like a pro. This guy might be able to steal the job. This guy, at the very least, is going to be a really strong AHL player. And that's because he was using his size. He was using his intelligence. He was using his forechecking reads. Even at training camp, day one, in and out. Him and Maynalainen, to me, were a team in Maynalainen winning his job out of camp. And so Stenlund got sent down. Sure, he became a really important player for the Moose. And I've liked him. I think you can count on him in that. I don't know what offense he'll continue to bring. Yes, it was a great cut into the middle of the ice, and he takes that pass. It was a great face-off win, and Johnson Fiabi gets a puck on it along the wall. I think Gustafson's the one that centers it. Hopefully I have those guys in the right spot. Could be the other way around. But it was a great fourth-line play. I don't think that those guys are going to generate a lot like that, but I think you can trust them. And that means to me that Stenlund's not going to play his way off. That's for darn sure. And it's just going to be a matter of, if Appleton, Wheeler, and Ehlers all came back on the same day, well, I guess you're going back to the AHL.
The one thing I'll say about Stenlund that I think has been very obvious is that he's filling a need for Rick Bowness that he wasn't getting from the rest of his centers, and that was being really good in the faceoff circle. And I mean, I was a little surprised right off the bat when David Gustafsson got moved to the left wing. I mean, I got a lot of time for Gus. But man, with the way that Stenlund is playing and the fact that he has been coming through like the coaches wanted in the faceoff circle, I'm not sure that, he gets in the mix for a fourth line spot. I mean, to be honest with you, and this is sort of funny because I love the way the bottom six is looking right now. It's the guys filling in on the top two lines that I actually could see going from top 6 minutes to press box minutes at some point if one or two guys come back.
Yeah, maybe that makes, Michael Eassamont types or Sam Gagne or Carson Kuhlman more of placeholders for the time being. Because I don't think you're necessarily going to get them playing that fourth line grind game that Winnipeg's had such success with. That makes sense to me. And also the idea of faceoffs, which, Bowness, we're learning things about him. We know that he believes in timely goals, timely saves, give one up before the end of a period. He's extra angry about it, all that sort of stuff. Well, face-offs, maybe even up there with the defenseman points are the sorts of things that he spent a lot of extra time talking about. If Stenlund can deliver, and that's a style of game that you like from those guys, I begin to be able to squint and see a job laid out for him on that way. I think that's a really great point by you. The interesting thing for me on the Carson Kuhlman front, if we're going to talk about those guys, clearly a placeholder on that top line, has looked good, but would probably have, if that were Nick Ehlers or Blake Wheeler, there may be a few more points there so far, I would say, because Scheifele and Perfetti are looking great. I know that Winnipeg has been interested in Carson Kuhlman for a little while. I know they put in a waiver claim last year when Boston waived him and Seattle picked him up. Winnipeg was below Seattle in the waiver priority. So that's a guy who I imagine in the depth role, the organization is clearly enamored with. Bowness will do as he will. And, Kuhlman hasn't taken faceoffs at the NHL level predominantly. If Gustafsson isn't somebody that he trusts in that regard, Harkins, Barron, I don't think those are your fourth line centers. Dominic Toninato hasn't shown enough when he's been in the NHL. You've twisted my arm on it, honestly, because Bowness said we need more goals from our defense, we need better faceoffs, and what other statistical things has he pointed to as aggressively as those two things?
Well, and it's a nice little segue to what the Jets are getting from the blue line. Bones said the D are coming. They needed more from it, and who could have imagined how much more they'd get from Josh Morrissey, who's already shattered his career high for points and was on the banner of the NHL Twitter account today. Another brilliant game as he continues his streak. First star last night. I mean, running out of superlatives to talk about the improvement and the way that he has not only raised his level of play, but what that's done for everyone around him.
I mean, yeah, I don't have superlatives. The way that he danced in from the blue line around the Seattle, I want to call him a forechecker. He's not forechecking, he's just covering the point. But the way Morrissey stepped around him effortlessly, for whatever reason, I was reminded of Tyler Myers' best moments as a Winnipeg Jet. He'd always try that dangle from a standstill at the line. He scored a really important goal for Winnipeg against Minnesota in the 2018 playoffs. And you're like, if Tyler Myers were as good at everything else as he is at that one thing, he'd be a dominant defenseman. Well, Josh Morrissey is as good at everything else as he is at that one thing. And now you see him having the confidence to try those play at the line, to lead a breakout with a spinorama. The slap passes that we're seeing, the guy is thinking and acting faster than everybody else on the ice. The goal he scored, I really felt that Ottawa's players looked like their controllers were disconnected a little bit last night. Like they were frozen. Everybody was frozen, but Morrissey, who was jumping in from the point. And then to have two passes as beautiful as he's made in the last two games, I just think that this is all confidence, all execution. It's there. And he seems to be thinking faster than everybody else on the ice. So if last year was a step forward in terms of how explosive he was, and he told me for our story last year, he had changed trainers. He was less on power, more on explosiveness, speed, agility. You can see that in the way he moves. Well, I think that he's done it for so long now. He's solved problems with his skating that have given him opportunities, by which I mean his skating has solved problems on the ice. His skating was never a problem. But he uses his skating to solve problems. Then he finds himself in these opportunities, and his brain is just seeing everything and then executing in a way that is Norris top 5, top 10 quality caliber. That's great.
Well, there's no doubt about that. From the top defenseman to the guy getting an opportunity to get into the lineup in Ville Heinola. It's interesting, and you almost have to take it with a grain of salt, like when you're reading social media or something around Ville. I mean, there are people that have very entrenched viewpoints on this player more than there's always one guy every year that it seems people have takes, and, they will view his performance often through that. Rick Bowness didn't seem to be particularly enamored with Ville's game last night. I was in the building. I thought he had some moments where he looked good. I thought there were some other times where the things that he's normally really good at, breakout passes, were just so. Interested in your perspective on Ville's return to the lineup and the challenge facing him, assuming he's in the lineup, going up a few weight classes against the Boston Bruins tomorrow night.
Yeah, you know what? I agree with the Rick Bowness slash hustler assessment that, it was a pretty average game. It was a pretty so-so game where some things went well and other things didn't. And I think that that's okay. I think that that's completely okay. The things that I think looked good were when the puck was on his stick in an offensive capacity, to be sure. He was also, and they showed a highlight package of this on the broadcast with Kevin Sawyer narrating it. So this isn't. I got to cite my sources on this, right? But they showed him being really close in terms of support and outlets for Dylan Samberg on the breakout early in the game. And I liked that highlight package that they showed where he's always providing himself as an option, which is great stuff. In the highlight package as well, in the midst of all the praise, in one of those situations, Samberg gets it to him and he throws up a bit of just like a chaos pass right up the wall that gets picked off by the Senators player. And it's a dangerous situation. And I think that might be related to what you're talking about. Ville Heinola's bread and butter, that's a pass he makes. That's, anything when it comes to exit passing, he reads the ice so well traditionally, he makes those passes. And if it's a so-so moment for him in the NHL, I think that's fine. The guy hasn't played since December 3rd in any capacity. He's been sick, but he's such a hot button player for so many people. If he does one thing good, it's like, of course, it's his time. Why have you been keeping him down? If he makes a mistake like that or others, it's, well, of course, I told you. He's Sami Niku 2.0. And to me, a lot of that is like, pardon me, it's the painkillers talking, but that's garbage. It is absolute garbage. Show some patience for this player the way that you would for just about anyone who hadn't played in as long as he had. It's clear that any young player transitioning into the NHL, aside from the number 1 overall picks, and even then, like if you look at Alexis Lafreniere and other things, they take time. If Ville Heinola is going to be the best version of himself in the NHL, he's going to need a stretch of 6, 7, 8, 10, 15 games all in a row, like Logan Stanley got in 2021, like Dylan Samberg has earned and gotten, all of those different things, because he needs to be able to make that mistake and then have the opportunity to make that pass and not make the mistake. You know what I mean? And in a third pairing sheltered role at home where Winnipeg has control of changes, that's viable. I hear arguments that the NHL is not a developmental league, but he needs to make those decisions at that NHL pace to take that next step. Hopefully he gets enough of those games now to iron that sort of stuff out, because otherwise we're going to see yo-yo up and down from Ville Heinola for here to the end of his Winnipeg Jets career. And I don't think that's necessarily fair or a reasonable expectation to put on the player.
Well, and the weird thing about this conversation is that no matter how great Ville plays, if he does over the course of this next little stretch, guys are going to get healthy. And I mean, I don't know what Ville Heinola could do to possibly pass Nate Schmidt on the depth chart right now. And if they're healthy, he's probably not in the lineup. All that being said, though, I think this is a crucial year for him within the organization. And I'm not sure there's ever going to be a better opportunity for Ville to get the opportunity to get back out there, as you just said, and show that he is a guy that the head coach can trust when he throws out there. And man, these next couple of games against teams like Boston and Washington, I mean, you're going right up to the top of the depth chart, if you will, of the league. And then a couple days off, and then Minnesota after that. I mean, are you with me that these next 2-3 weeks, while the opportunity presents itself, could be crucial in kind of really defining Ville Heinola's path, whether it be this year or with the Winnipeg Jets?
I mean, yes, to a degree, in that it's the kind of window that you can't carve out for him without that injury. It just doesn't happen without that injury to Nate Schmidt and to Logan Stanley as well, I think. I think the organization's content to keep him in the AHL unless circumstances change wildly. So here we go. Here is his opportunity. At the same time, I think Kyle Capobianco has played reasonably well. And more importantly, I think that the Jets like the way that he's played, and I don't know that we're going to get the Ville Heinola parade from here through the end of Nate Schmidt's injury. I think that he'll be in and out. So I guess I'm not anticipating him getting a consistent stretch of games. And at 21 years old, I still believe that the stretch that defines him is maybe going to be later on, given the circumstances that you just described. However, this is an opportunity. This is a moment to seize. And Go back to Washington's game in Winnipeg not too long ago. It was the first of a couple games where Winnipeg actually, to my mind, looked outclassed, and we haven't seen that in a long time. Washington was finding time and space in the middle of the ice that other teams haven't been able to do against Winnipeg. They were also forechecking successfully and knocking down breakout passes in a way we haven't seen the Jets really struggle with. So Winnipeg, yes, is going up against the elites of the league in the next little while, teams that can play a style of game that's hard for all of the Jets. It's also going to be hard for Heinola specifically if he can be the guy that gets that retrieval and that clean exit against teams this good that have this good of a plan against the Winnipeg Jets. And make no mistake, the Capitals did have an excellent forechecking plan against the Jets. Succeed at that, then I'll begin to believe, okay, this is defining, because that's how impressive that would be to me. Everybody struggled with it the last time Capitals were in town.
No, it is a great point, and man, what a test to finish off this insane schedule the team's been at, but has been surviving, going up against Boston and Washington over these next couple days. Goaltending was a big story last night. I thought Big Save Dave probably deserved a better fate on Sunday. I thought he really kept them in a game where they were running on fumes. Was a huge part of the win last night. You would assume Connor Hellebuck gets in against the Boston Bruins tomorrow. With all the hockey that's coming right on the break, does it make sense to probably go to what I had assumed the original plan was, to have Rittich playing against the Capitals on Friday? And maybe just a quick comment on what you've seen from Big Save Dave over the last couple starts.
Yeah, I think that Hellebuck tomorrow and then Rittich against Washington. I have that straight, right? You just said it. You laid it out. I think that makes all sorts of sense. If you've decided that Connor Hellebuck is healthy and coming on the trip, and those are your two goalies, then you're probably following the starting goalie gets the first game of the trip plan. I think that things are so well established. Winnipeg is not a timeshare. It's not a 1A, 1B situation. It's as good as Rittich has been. You don't ride the hot hand here. You go back to your number one guy. I think that's the play. Rittich's going to get a game in there anyway. And he's earned that opportunity. He's earned another start, so he'll get one for sure, especially on the split. I think that I agree with you. He deserved a better fate the other day. And then last night, I think it's just so important that a guy who is a role player, a bit part, a fill-in, gets to enjoy being a substantial piece of a big win. And, there was no third period collapse like against Carolina way back when. There's none of those shenanigans that we've seen in Rittich starts, even the wins. So for him to sort of from start to finish, the shot clock's going up, he's making all the saves, he's covering up pucks and all that sort of stuff. I just think that was a really important thing to make him feel like a major piece of the team's success.
One of our chat all-stars, Bailey Weeb. What's up, Bay? Very excited that you replied to her on Twitter last night. And I'm like, that shouldn't be anything. Murat is one of the best guys on Twitter. He's always has time for everyone that's tweeting at him. And I'm sure you like, more to come your way, especially as you get ready for more in the Athletic heading into the holidays and the new year.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thanks, Bailey. I mean, yeah, I try. Sometimes there are days when it's just there's too much there that you can't. And I just, when I wasn't in the building, it just felt like good to have some fun on Twitter or what have you. I'm curious to know what the Kevin Stenlund fan club should be called. Do you Stan Stenlund? Is that how? Anyway, all that stuff. And yeah, my work at The Athletic has slowed in the last couple of days because I haven't been able to type, but I'm back at it. I hope to have a piece finished today that goes up tomorrow and have some proper content over the holidays because people deserve it and it's time. Yeah. So
pretty fun conversations right now. Very quickly on the way out, we threw this up for the why not question of the day earlier today. As of today, which Winnipeg Jet is most likely to win an end of season award? Josh Morrissey, Connor Hellebuck, Rick Bowness.
Rick Bowness. Rick Bowness is the leader because you can point at all of those other players as functions of things that he's done. The record turnaround is incredible. The metrics are better than last year. The way that the team plays, everything that you might say makes Connor Hellebuck's job easier, makes Josh Morrissey more likely to jump into the play. You can take a lot of that to coaching. The individual players matter as well. And then there might be voter fatigue on Connor Hellebuck. Maybe some people I've talked to are just sick of him being talked about as an elite so much. Anyway, I think Rick Bowness is your guy on that front.
Murat, have a wonderful Christmas. Thanks so much, and we'll look forward to catching up with you one more time in 2022 next week on another busy week for the Winnipeg Jets.
Yes, please. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Great stuff. At WPG Murat, feel better, my friend. There's Murat Atesh of The Athletic. All right, we've got marbles coming up, but it has been a minute since we've had my guy Fienberg jumping on. He's going to join us in just a couple of seconds. Before we do that, have to give a big thank you to our friends at Princess Auto for their amazing support of Winnipeg Sports Talk. Of course, Princess Auto, speaking of local companies, headquartered right here in the Peg, family owned and operated, and of course, coast to coast, and featuring our country's best selection and best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new is at Princess Auto. The tasks and ideas change through the seasons, but Princess Auto's there 24/7, 365. And speaking of 24/7, 365, you can shop all day, all night, anytime at princessauto.com or pop down and visit them at one of 2 Winnipeg locations, Panet Road, Portage Avenue West. Might be a good time to get in there before the 25th on the weekend. Speaking of great local companies, man, Culligan Water, family owned for over 65 years here in the Peg as the go-to people for all water services and products. They've got you covered with water softeners, filters, bottled water coolers, whole home systems and drinking water systems, citywide water delivery services, and commercial and industrial water products and solutions. Culligan Water is at 1200 Sargent Avenue. Give them a call for all your water needs at 204-694-5180. or check them out online for everything they can do for you and your family at drinkculligan.com. Speaking of drinking, the holidays are here, and I know many of you will be celebrating, entertaining, or tipping a glass. And with what you're putting in the glass, make sure that it's Canada's favorite Canadian Rye Canadian Club, available at your local Manitoba liquor marts. And for you Bomber fans who enjoy Jim Beam, it's a great time to get to one of Manitoba's 20th largest liquor marts, because the Bomber collector glasses are here. With any purchase of Jim Beam, you'll get either a Zach Caleros, Adam Big Hill, or Nick Dembski glass at the Jim Beam display. So make sure to check that when you're doing your holiday shopping at MLCC for Jim Beam, and of course, the official spirit of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and WST Canadian Club, Canada's famous Canadian whiskey. All right, just before we bring in Fienberg, we got a really interesting Thursday nighter tomorrow between the Jets and Jags. We got a great Jet matchup with the Jets in Boston. And hey, with the team on the road, you know where to be. Boston Pizza. The holiday menu's out right now. That amazing new jalapeno popper dip, some new pizzas, the mac and cheese burger, and great prizes that you can win every night the Winnipeg Jets play. And of course, NFL football is on the big screen. So make it BP tomorrow. And if you're staying at home because it's too damn cold outside, you can order online citywide and throughout the province as well at bostonpizza.com. All right, let's get to it and welcome in. It's been too long. Our guy, Geoff Fienberg, star of the festivities on the Mayo Media Network, along with our guy, Pat Mayo and Tim Anderson, card-carrying member of the Chargers Nation, golf guy extraordinaire. What's up? Best of the season to you, my friend. It's great to have you back on the show.
Always good to talk, Huss, anytime, buddy.
Listen, I want to get to a little bit of golf at the end, just with everything looking ahead to next season. But let's talk about the listen, let's start off with your Chargers. This has been a real up and down season. And I heard you talking with the guys earlier on, and I'll be honest, I was almost stunned when you said it on this week's pod. But, you know, despite the ups and downs and the underwhelming performances at times, this team can clinch their playoff spot this week. I mean, where's your head at right now with the Bolts and your guy Herbert? And, I mean, a crazy, super competitive AFC.
Yeah, my head is sort of, firstly, my head is finally in a good place, Huss. Because week 3 was the start of Rosh Hashanah, and Herbert was playing with a rib fracture, and then Bosa and Slater got hurt that week, and I thought everything was over. Well, what do you know? We've arrived at Hanukkah, and finally the tracks on the roller coaster have, nothing's clinched. And as a Charger fan, you always feel a trap door. And even my wife, I say to her, like, look, we're minus 900 to make the playoffs, honey. Like, look, be happy. She's like, bet some money on the other team so I can online shop when you turn our house into a misery in a few weeks. But in all seriousness, Huss, they're far more resilient than I am. Like a lot of fans, I am delicate. I am fragile. I was calling for Staley's head. I couldn't figure out how this defensive-minded coach can't coach a defense out of a paper bag, and then all of a sudden Derwin James has to miss some games, and they've come up with some great defensive performances. Maybe they can get healthy. It is nice, and I want to congratulate you and Chiefs Kingdom on getting another hat and T-shirt. It's probably tiresome doing it, and well, I did pick the Chargers to win the AFC West, probably out of bias. I think you and lots of people who take in my content know I never really got off that Chiefs bandwagon. I never had a moment of concern when they traded Tyreek Hill. They're incredible. It's deserved. But I can just hope the Chargers can maybe get healthy and get into that tournament here.
I'll say this. I think that they'll scare the bejesus out of anyone that they're playing come playoff time, especially if they get a few players back at the deadline. It looks like there are going to be two teams from the AFC West going to the playoffs. Going into the year, there was talk that maybe all four could be. I don't even know where to start with what's happened to the Broncos other than it has been an unmitigated disaster. We always use the Herschel Walker trade as the bar for the worst trades in NFL history. Where does the Russell Wilson trade rank right now as we sit here with the Seahawks looking for a top 5 pick courtesy of the Broncos, not their own?
Yeah, it's clearly an unmitigated disaster. They're locked into a contract. They don't have the draft picks. We already saw ramifications of it in the season as they felt like, what's the point? Why extend to Bradley Chubb? Why even entertain that option? Nope, just trade him out. We have to recoup from that trade. They win a game. The offense shows as much life as it kind of has all year. I was sort of making the jokes last week that watch them play well with Rippon. It'll almost be like the locker room wants to flip Russell some birds. Like just to say, no, like we'll get on this guy's back. We don't mind. An unmitigated disaster. At certain points, as the Chargers were going through serious quicksand, it was the main highlight for me was their struggles in the Raiders, Huss. I cannot put my finger on it. You could make the case they are so incredibly unlucky. Their Jaguars lead that they blew, the Titans lead that they blew, the Baker Mayfield 99-yard drive a few weeks ago. If they just had one more win, they'd be scaring me a little bit because of some maybe head-to-head or some AFC West things that could reverberate through. But at the same time, they got so lucky last year, winning so many of those situations. This year that we see the Vikings doing it, not to take anything away from their comeback, but so many of their other wins. Even the Chargers, Huss, get so lucky in Cleveland. They get so lucky in Atlanta. So many things. Just
you guys have been winning games that normally you lose. I mean, that's been, there's been a few times I've heard you this year, almost sounding like a loss, but in fact a win. And guess what? Those games all add up, and now here you are getting ready for the postseason.
Expectations are the devil. Expectations are the devil because they put me in a pretzel. The moment that it felt like the boat was carrying water, it put me in a pretzel because I thought I could overwhelm people this year. And not only did they not overwhelm teams, they, find themselves in every one-score game. They've been injured. And, anybody with eyeballs is curious as to why don't the Chargers just let improvisation, like strategic improvisation, sort of be more of their playbook, sort of acknowledge that really good things happen for this team on the second level, or that, when things have to kind of happen on the fly. But no, they just want to dink and dunk until they're desperate. I'd love to run an experiment. One game, the Chargers just pretend they're down 14 points with 5 minutes left at the start of the game. And I'm sure a lot of football fans wish their teams did that because you feel like, and I get defenses can do it differently, but you just call the game differently. You call the game aggressively. And I wish maybe the Chargers getting healthier, they can do that. They can do that, Huss.
Hey, let me ask you just before. I want to ask you about the NFC, but I think it's pretty clear. You got 3 teams at the top of the AFC right now. How would you rank them? Chiefs, Bills, Bengals.
Jeez. I would put the Chiefs first. I would put the Bills second, but the Bengals, they feel they're spectacular, and maybe they could flip spots with anybody. And I guess if you're a Bengals fan, you don't fear the Chiefs like probably other teams do. Full credit what's gone on there. They've overcome injuries that have been relentless on them all year. Yeah. The defense losing almost so many bodies in their secondary, Huss, and guys up front. What a tremendous team the Bengals have been as well. But that's how I would rank them still right now.
Now, as far as the NFC goes, how many legitimate Super Bowl contenders are there? I think we know, Geoff, that the Philadelphia Eagles have had an amazing season so far.
Did I lose Huss?
I will point. No, we can hear you. Can you hear us? Tell you what, maybe the internet. Yeah, Fienberg, we still got you. Can you hear us okay? He's looking around. He's trying to fix something right now. Either that or our pal Ken Weeb when he's in control of the controls on Kenny and Rennie, trying to do a quick fix on the go. But I'll set this up while we get Fienberg back in here. NFC right now, Eagles obviously are the class of the field. Although very interesting that Jalen Hurts might be out for a couple weeks, but you know what? They've earned that luxury of potentially not playing their all-pro quarterback against their arch rivals, the Dallas Cowboys, this weekend. Then you've got the Dallas Cowboys, and to me, the sleeper team that is absolutely dangerous is the San Francisco 49ers. But to me, I'm not sure how many real, legit Super Bowl contenders we've got right now in the NFC, Remo. When you look at the NFC, how many teams do you think that are capable of giving one of those great teams in the AFC a legitimate run in the Super Bowl?
Sorry, I'm just messaging with Geoff here. He says, "Did my internet go out?" And I'm replying, "Yeah." Yeah, I think you're just talking about NFC versus AFC.
Is that mine?
Are the Cowboys for real? I haven't mentioned the Vikings because I don't really think the Vikings, as great as their record is, are a team that is going to scare any of those teams we just mentioned in the AFC. And I guess Dallas is 10-4. Maybe we should give them a little bit more credit. I know the Cowboys fans around will be like, "Hey, hold on a second. Look at us." But man, the Eagles 13-1. To me, the most dangerous team to the Eagles is the San Francisco 49ers, even if Brock Purdy is the quarterback. And it's all about their defense. We know how important defense is at this time of the year.
Yeah, I'll go, you go through the division. Eagles are number 1, but Jalen Hurts, he's hurt right now. He's supposed to be back later on, so you think they're not going to have drop off. Dallas, I like what they do with this tandem run game. Defense, it's been all right. So Dallas, but Minnesota, they were 10-3. They weren't even favored against the Lions, who had a much worse record, which was weird. They did pull off that win on the weekend, but you're not really sold on them. And Tampa, that division stinks, NFC South, and I think you got to trust in Kyle Shanahan. Whoever's behind there, they have a system that lets them have success. Christian McCaffrey has been a huge ad for them, and they have that top defense. So I agree with you. San Francisco 10-4 and Philadelphia are the only teams to watch, and it seems like there's so many teams in the AFC here, Huss.
Yeah, well, the AFC is so top heavy. And you look at the quarterbacks that are projected to be in the playoffs. Josh Allen, Tua, who's had a great season so far, the Bengals and Joe Burrow, the Ravens and Lamar Jackson, the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, the Chargers and Justin Herbert, And then, of course, there's the Tennessee Titans, who, although they just have a 1-game lead on the Jacksonville Jaguars right now, the Jags not out of it at all when it comes to the AFC South this year. Listen, I mean, this Jags, I am actually really excited for tomorrow night, Reem. We get an early Jet game against Boston and then can settle into Thursday night football with two very mediocre, if not terrible, they're mediocre, not terrible this year, AFC teams, the New York Jets and Trevor Lawrence and the Jags. This is exactly what Thursday night football is all about.
Man, I like Trevor Lawrence. He's been awesome the last couple of weeks. And the Jets, who's quarterback? Is it still Zach Wilson? Do we know who their quarterback is? Because
Mike White's not being cleared.
He's still not cleared?
Yeah, no, Zach Wilson. Zoomer Zach is going to be.
I mean, they won last week. But, if you feel a lot more confident if they had
they lost.
Mike White.
They lost to Detroit.
Oh, they did lose. I'm all mixed up. Sorry. I'm trying to troubleshoot with Fienberg and talk football here, but I probably lean Jacksonville. I think they're pretty good. They beat Dallas. Trevor Lawrence, he's really having a breakout season. They got a number of strong receivers that cleared up the running back, and look, a nice pick six. They beat Dallas there in OT. So I like Jacksonville. I think they're pretty strong. Although on the road, I don't know what the weather is in New York. I'm assuming cold. You don't like a warm weather team going to cold weather. Although the Dolphins still look strong against Buffalo in that blizzard.
Yes, indeed. Now, okay, listen, we'll have much more time today, and actually, I'll do a little plug because if you are interested in more NFL talk and a full breakdown and picks for the games, the Lock Shop is going to be live at 4:00 today. So if you haven't already, and you know what, I will throw this into the chat just to get some folks to be able to find it. The Lock Shop Super Week 16 Extravaganza is going to be live at 4 p.m. today. We'll hit the Thursday nighter, and by the way, I'm just putting it in the chat right here now. There you go. Head on over there for those of you that are on YouTube right now. Hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications if you can, because we do sort of broadcast at different times. You get all the picks, having all-time season, 64% against the spread and the total so far this year, and hoping to finish strong with a great last couple of weeks. But subscribe to the channel, because when we get to 1,000 subscribers, we're giving away $1,000 to one of our first 1,000 subscribers. So not only do the picks have been the gift that keeps on giving, but a great chance to walk away with a cool G-Note courtesy of the Lock Shop. So we're live. We'll get to all of that coming up at 4 p.m. today when Dustin Nielsen joins me. So Remo, I guess we won't get to the rest of the NFL talk. We'll kind of maybe save more of that for our buddy Dustin Nielsen on the Lock Shop later on. The one thing that I did want to bring up with Fienberg that I'll just sort of mention right now, that's been one of the huge stories in all of sports this year, has been the Live Golf Tour, the exodus of a number of the top players for massive, massive monies from the Saudi investment fund who is behind Live Golf, and what that means for the landscape of the PGA Tour as well as the majors. And maybe the biggest question mark was about the Masters. The Masters do what they want. They make their own rules. They follow the lead of no one. And there was quite a bit of speculation that potentially maybe some of these players, even former champions, would not be welcomed at Augusta this year. That is not the case. Now, they have not said anything. They have not committed to anything really past this year, and I think they're waiting to see how everything shakes out. But what is important to know is that guys that had previously qualified for the Masters or were in a qualifying position when they left to Live will be in the tournament. So that means Brooks Koepka, Bryson DeChambeau, Patrick Reed, Cam Smith, Taylor Gooch, all will be at Augusta in April. And man, that will set up some of the juiciest storylines around a major tournament in a long, long time. And certainly you'll have the best of the best there. But there'll be much more to it all around it. So For you golf fans, we'll get into that a little bit more coming up in the next year, and we'll get Fienberg on again to break down some of the tournaments. And again, if you haven't already seen what Geoff and Pat and the guys are doing, search Mayo Media Network. Give those guys a follow either by podcast. I listen to most of it on audio, but man, the YouTube is funny. And of course, Tim Anderson, who's been on with us before, one of the most interesting men in the universe. Some of the worst takes at times, sometimes some good ones, but definitely worth your while checking out if you like to have some laughs and talk both football and golf. Now, Remo, the one other thing that I guess we've got some time to get to before we get to marbles is a story. Oh, and I see marbles is open, by the way. So if you've just popped in, 2:45 is the time. Make sure you've hit that red subscribe button so you're eligible to enter. ! Marbles. Remo, have you been following the story of what's been happening in the Chiefs superfan community this week?
No, I'm not familiar with the Chiefs superfan community.
So, gang, and I say this obviously as a Chiefs fan, I wouldn't say necessarily a super fan. I do not have a mascot outfit or costume that I normally wear, but if you've ever been to Arrowhead, there is a little subsection of hardcore fans that over the years have put on ridiculous get-ups that they wear each and every week. My first game ever, I remember a guy, there's our guy, Chiefsaholic, a guy that would dress up as the other team's jersey or quarterback and have these arrows through him. So he was Arrow Man. Then there was X Factor, who wore a red cheesehead type thing, but it was in an arrowhead. And X Factor had a very public humiliation a few years ago when he got into a fight with another Chiefs super fan, which was captured on video. Then it came out that he had had some drug charges and ended up in trouble with the law and ended up being banned from Arrowhead. So it was an unfortunate end for X Factor. I don't think anyone could be ready for what I'm about to tell you with this Chiefs-aholic guy. As you can see in the picture right here, and for those of you listening to a podcast, he has got a full wolf suit on and was a fixture at all of the Chiefs games at Arrowhead. But not only was he going to Arrowhead, he was also going to all of the road games. And a lot of people had wondered what he did for a living. He said that he had started working in a warehouse and now was running multiple warehouses all around the Midwest. Les Thompson, happy holidays. Les, thanks so much for the super chat, my friend. Really appreciate that. But again, as one would say, he's very active on Twitter, engaging with other Chiefs fans, and was all fired up to go to the game in Houston, where a number of other fans were. So they had planned for a meetup. No Chiefsaholic. Where's the wolf? Nobody saw him at the game. And for a guy that was as active as he was on Twitter, no tweets. People started to be concerned about him. They sent him messages. Nothing to report. His phone was off. And people legitimately started to get worried. And Monday morning, throughout the Chiefs community, there was essentially a bit of a plea for anyone that had connections to this guy to find out, is he okay? Well, he is okay and not okay. It was found out, Remo, that on his way to Houston for the game, made a little pit stop in Bixby, Oklahoma, to rob a bank.
Oh, no.
He's now up on federal armed robbery charges for a bank, and as they're seeing now, the FBI is involved, and they believe that he is actually a serial bank robber, and Chiefsaholic on the way to these road games to see Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs do their thing was knocking off banks along the way. So all the business about running multiple warehouses, probably not true. And listen, it started a whole nother subculture of people going back through his tweets, picking out things that may have been clues of what he was up to. But I'll say this, best quarterback in the league, most dysfunctional super fan group in the league as well, as Chiefsaholic is now facing federal armed robbery charges and the FBI investigating serial bank robberies.
Like, if you're gonna rob somewhere, I feel like a bank isn't a good choice. Like, I know they have a lot of money there, but they also have a lot of security. So, like, if you can get away with it once, like, I wouldn't push my luck anymore. There's cameras, there's procedures. I wouldn't. I feel like a bank isn't where I would try to rob.
What dedication to see your team on the road. Gotta say
that he would rob a bank to do it. The story isn't? Oh, this guy's a dumb criminal. The story is, man, this guy really loves the Chiefs. That much.
You can spin it however you want.
That he would love it. Wow.
I think he was
story
picking
of love.
up. And again, I haven't done a lot of research into bank robberies. But it sounds like he was kind of picking off these little rinky-dink places in small towns that may not have had the same sort of security as a bank that you would go into in a bigger city. Regardless, it's the end of the road for Chiefsaholic. Pour one out for him tonight. And by the way, obviously when he was robbing the banks, he was wearing a mask. There's some pictures that have surfaced of a guy robbing a bank in the actual wolf mask. We're not sure whether it's the same guy or not, but that would be over the top if he actually wore his mascot costume to carry out his bank robberies on the way to see his team play wearing that same outfit.
Yeah. I guess he's wearing a mask at least, but seems not smart.
Hey, Jeff Coldwell, super chat, my friend. Thank you very much. Greatly appreciate the support. So nice of you. And Rob Somerville. Merry Christmas, Huss, Remis, and fellow Chataholics. Not to be confused with Chiefsaholic, the armed bank robber, serial bank robber, and big fan of the Kansas City Chiefs. All right. Had to get that story in.
I got a couple things we want to get to from the Jets game. Yesterday, Huss. The first, a lot of people asking you gave your blessing for the wave in the third period up 5-1. You're okay with that?
Yeah, yes. At the time, the Jets were in complete control, dominating. I personally probably would have loved to just wait a little bit more. We did see Carolina score 3 goals in the last 5 minutes of the game earlier this year, but I had actually gone out to go to the bathroom. And I was in 316, so I'm just running into the bathroom, and someone went and said hi. So I had a quick chat with them, and I could hear the crowd. And I could hear the crowd coming out of the bathroom, and I saw the guy back going into the bar, and I'm like, I know this sound. They're doing the wave right now. I literally audibly knew and felt that the wave was happening. However, that if there ever was a time to do it, as I said, maybe we could leave it a few extra minutes. It was a real fun crowd last night. It was a good crowd. It seemed to be, many of the sections that weren't really that full for the Vegas game a week earlier on Tuesday were full for the Ottawa game, which was a little strange. I would have expected it might have been the other way around. But yes, and the minute I'm walking back to the seats and bing, 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 the phone starts going off because getting notifications, texts, and it was all wave related the minute it started.
Every time there's a wave, someone's like messaging you to see if it's okay. And I always like the games around the holiday season. I know they were encouraging people to dress up as Santa and in their holiday sweaters. And I think people coming from out of town to visit family too. So 2 big games next week, the rivalry game against Minnesota and scheduled win against Vancouver. Just by the way, Vancouver's playing. We haven't talked too much.
Just quickly from last night's game, did they show the Santa with the nice and the naughty list on television last night? There was a Santa sitting with Mrs. Claus, and they had a big whiteboard that said the who's been nice. Okay. And it started off, it was Steny, Gagne, Steny, Morrissey, Gagne, Connor. And then turned it around, and on the naughty list was Pionk because he'd taken a 2-minute penalty earlier in the game. So,
wow.
Credit to whoever came up with that. It was great to see the Santas and everyone in their costumes. But yes, the naughty and the nice list, I thought would have for sure gotten onto some of the highlight packages.
And one thing, so the talk this week we didn't spend a lot of time on it because we really don't need to. But the Mark Mathot tweet, So I'll just recap.
Is there another chapter?
There's another. The Jets trolled him on Twitter last night during the win, and I'll show you the tweets. I don't know if you saw this. The tweet was, I'll read it again. Worst hotel in the NHL, the Fairmont. Paper thin walls, very loud doors, bed sheets that zap you upon entry. Shit weather, almost no nearby restaurants, tough scene. And, he deleted it and whatever, and then actually wrote on Twitter, too. The people are wonderful. The building is a blast. I've heard nothing but great things, but the hotel sucks. So he deleted it, whatever.
He's
Anyway.
got beef with the Fairmont.
Yeah, it sounds like his beat. So anyways, the Jets. So I saw this Cameron Penny, I guess he does social media for the Jets, made a Twitter thread where the Jets made a series of tweets about the Jets' dominance over the Senators using Mark Mathat's lines. Here's Josh Morrissey found the paper-thin opening for the snipe. Okay, to start the game. On the doorstep, Stenny gets the building very loud, and that's the very loud doors line. And here's a tweet after the game. Home ice advantage, zapped him. And that's
I saw the zapped him. I love that.
That's reference bed sheets that zap you upon entry. And another big storm brewing that we don't mind. It's Josh Morrissey in the eye of the storm, and that is referencing the shit weather comment. And
hey, listen, he wasn't far off with the shit weather this week. I'm gonna side with Mark Mathat on that one.
And then here's another one. Almost nobody nearby for his second of the night, and that's Kyle Connor, and they're referencing the almost no nearby restaurants. And then they tweeted after the first period, tough scene or great scenes through the opening 20, referencing tough scene. And then they tweeted after the win, making a list, checking it twice, not going to find prima donnas on the ice. Referencing the prima donna. So,
Jets, if we're doing any year-end awards, like teams give most improved, the NBA has a most improved player award.
Mm-hmm.
We have to give some sort of award to the Jets social media team.
They've stepped it up.
The content they've been cranking out this year internally, that sort of stuff has been awesome. And it's been so much fun to listen. The team, obviously, with the winning and what they've done so far has been a lot of fun. But I think from a fan standpoint and from a brand standpoint, whoever, and I don't know the people that are working in that department, but whoever it is are doing a hell of a job right now. It's been a lot of fun to read those tweets. And last night was a masterpiece.
Yeah, well, the Jets had to win to defend the city of Winnipeg's honor against the villain, Mark Mathat. Like, oh my God.
Mark Mathat took a few L's. I saw John Abbott afterwards, and I said, "Hey, I was just having a little fun asking how you slept the night before and if you got zapped by the bed sheets." And he's like, "Oh, no problem. I was at the Delta." And actually, gotta give a shout out to Jacques Laverne, who's the new GM of the Delta. I saw him at the game last night and had a bit of a laugh with him that when we asked John Allen about it, he goes, "Well, we're at the Delta. No issues here right now."
Yeah.
a lot of the teams are sitting there as well. All right. It's just about time for marbles. Folks, if you just got in here, hit that red subscribe button. Give us the thumbs up. Oh, nice to see everyone in here. 230 thumbs up. Thank you very much. Let's see if we can get to 250. And we're going to drop the marbles very soon. If you haven't already, !marbles in the chat. We'll get you a marble. And again, what we are playing for today, the top 3 podium finishers, first, second, and third, will all get a marble in the championship race next Friday. And next Friday, thanks to the great support of our friends at Consolidated Supply, we are going to be giving away a pair of 2023 Winnipeg Blue Bombers season tickets, the Unfinished Business Tour, as our final act of 2022. So get in there right now if you haven't already. !marbles.
Yeah. Hold on. I'm having a problem here with the marbles. I didn't capture any of the entry. Might have to redo this. I've been too busy.
Have you closed the chat? Or is it still just open?
What the H? Might have to redo all this.
I mean, like people have to enter again?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, this has happened before. So go through the lines. I'm gonna have to redo.
All right. So do we need to tell people that they have to put in marbles again?
Yeah, they will. Let me try this again.
All right. The raffle has been canceled, everybody. But now it's started again.
I don't think it's working again. Shoot. Okay. I've had this before. I should have been checking to make sure they were coming in. One sec.
But they weren't.
But
they
they
were
weren't.
not.
They were not.
All right. Well, we try and figure this out. Let's get to our Coolbet lines for tonight. Don't forget, big lock shop coming up in an hour. Super mega week 16 show with our Thursday night picks, the best bets, the Monday night pick, as well as our partner parlay, which we've just locked in earlier, and we'll see what number we get from our good friends over at Coolbet. All right, let's take a look at these lines. And, I see we've got a little line movement in this Thursday nighter between the Jags and the Jets. The Jets are now 1.5 point favorites. I actually think I got them at plus 0.5 point last night, which is interesting. The total on this game is 36.5. Very, very low. Jets obviously have a great defense. The Jets offense has been putrid with Zach Wilson as the quarterback, although he was winning games before he lost the job to Mike White. No Mike White tomorrow. So it's going to be Zoomer Zach going up against Trevor Lawrence and the Jags. Huge game for the Jags as they are just one game back of the Tennessee Titans in that AFC South. Got the Detroit Lions, 2.5 point favorites over the Panthers. The Bills, 8.5 point road favorites in Chicago against the Bears. The Cleveland Browns, 3 point home favorites, and that's even money. You probably get them at what? minus 127. That's going to be a field goal game. Cleveland 3 point favorites, home against the New Orleans Saints. Chiefs laying 9.5 at home against the Seahawks. The Vikings, I'm not sure if anyone's ever going to bet the Vikings to cover a spread again, but they will take them on the money line. Vikes are 4 point favorites against the Giants, and yes, minus 192 to win the game. Bengals and Patriots, -3 for Cincinnati on the road in New England. The Titans and Texans going at it. Titans need to win to stay on top of the AFC South. Tennessee's 4 point favorite against Houston, who's actually had 2 pretty strong games against Dallas and Kansas City the last couple of weeks. The Niners, love the Niners these days. Can't get them enough on spreads, totals, whatever. 7 point favorites against another team that I do like, left hand up for the Washington Commanders. By all accounts, it sounds like Jalen Hurts is not going to be playing this weekend, although Nick Sirianni hasn't confirmed it. But the spread tells you that it is because the Dallas Cowboys are 5 point favorites against the Philadelphia Eagles. The Raiders and Steelers go at it in Pittsburgh on Christmas Eve. Pittsburgh minus 2.5 point favorites. Packers +4 in Miami to take on the Dolphins, who just had that rough 3-game road trip, losing all 3. The Denver Broncos, 2.5 point road favorites against the Rams, who just finished off that loss in Green Bay. Tampa and Arizona. Game that was 6 points earlier today. It is now 7.5. I don't know how anyone could back Tampa Bay against anybody as a 7.5 point favorite the way they've been playing. But I guess Arizona now with Trace McSorley at quarterback would be that team. And geez, I see we don't have the number for the Monday nighter right now, but that final game of the week is going to be the Chargers and the Indianapolis Colts. And it looks like at least ESPN has the number at Chargers -4.5. So we'll get to all of those a little bit later on. There's your update for what the lines are. Now, National Hockey League, very busy night tonight. Not quite as busy as yesterday, but I guess quite close. Tampa and Detroit. Tampa's -149 on the road. Devils and Panthers. Panthers just got pumped. Would they give up 7 last night to Boston? -134 for the Panthers at home. Devils +113. Paul Maurice, unfortunately, is on the naughty list of many a Panthers fan right now. They're not pleased. Colorado Avalanche -284. Big favorites against the Habs. Predators -189 against the Chicago Blackhawks. That's in Chicago. Oilers and Dallas Stars. Oilers +125. Dallas -147 at home. And the Wild and Ducks, despite being on the road, Wild a huge favorite, -287. And the Vegas Golden Knights, coming off that loss to the Buffalo Sabres at home, look to get right against the Coyotes, minus 295. And puck line of minus 1.5 if you are so inclined to get to that. If you haven't played at Coolbet before, use the promo code WST for all your using WST, when you're making your first deposit for a 100% bonus up to $200 on your first deposit. And join us at 4 o'clock on the Lock Shop. Subscribe on YouTube. Get in for that $1,000 giveaway, and for everything going into the weekend. All right. What's the status with our marble race today, Commissioner?
Something is wrong with Streamlabs, that it's not automatically. You set it so you type exclamation marbles, and it collects all the names for me, so I don't have to type them in manually, which we used to do. But it's not giving me the people who are typing it. So someone wrote in chat that that they thought they were having problems. We could postpone and do it tomorrow. You can give me try to figure out another way to collect the names on the fly. Yeah, this is
Well, let's just take a look at the calendar here, because we have 3 races left. And what are we doing shows next week? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday?
Yeah, good time to announce that we're not doing a show Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah, exactly. There's a little bit of a break. I mean, Christmas and New Year's are Boxing Day on the weekend. Or I guess, no, Christmas Eve and Christmas Day are Saturday, Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll be off like most people Monday, Tuesday. Jets will be playing on Monday on Tuesday night. So we'll be back Wednesday with the show post Minnesota ahead of the Vancouver game. I guess our other option is, and I think that if we can't do a marble race today, we need to make it up to the people.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm thinking is that we obviously do the marble race tomorrow, which would be qualifying race number 10. We would do marble race on Friday, which would be qualifying race number 11. Now, that was supposed to be the final race. We could actually add another race next week on the Wednesday and a last chance qualifier on the Thursday, and essentially do marbles every day up until the final race on the Friday. Thoughts on that, or can I hear you? Are you talking?
I gotta be honest, I wasn't listening, so whatever you want. I'm trying to see if I can get a quick extra thing going. So I'm sure whatever you thought was good.
Well, I was just saying that we could add in races on Wednesday and Thursday next week.
Oh, we weren't going to do that.
Well, Friday was going to be the final race. If we can't do one today, we definitely have to do an extra one.
Mm-hmm.
If not 2 extra ones, because we were also going to potentially do something on social media or whatever for that final. But I wouldn't have an issue with doing 2 more races.
Yes. I don't know why it's not.
So let's do the top 6. I'd rather do 2 races and do 3 each than just do the top 6 in one race. I don't know. The more races, the better. Gregory Liverpool likes the idea. Huss for mayor. Boba Jet's down with it. Huss, have you lost your marbles every day? Todd, come on. MC Stormy, yeah, if it works, well, it'll work tomorrow. We can do,
I'll have
but
to
again,
test it.
We could do the top 6, but I mean, next week, I wouldn't mind having a couple last chance qualifiers.
Oh.
To do it. Oh, you figure out what it is?
I can get an alternate one. Hold on. I know there's people in here watching us troubleshoot.
This is the brilliance of live operations. Well, when you're including alternate technology like marbles on stream.
Yeah, I'm close to getting an alternate way to collect the names. So hold on.
Okay, yeah. I do not want to do a top 6 in any of the races. If we have to do another one, I'd rather do 2 races if we have 2 days to do them, which we would next week. But everyone's here. There's 381 Marble fans frantically waiting to see if we can fix this. So we'll see whether we can do it. We'll wait for an update from the CTO. Anybody got some picks for me tonight? NHL? Just went through these. I had a nice one last night. 2-gamer. Jets, money line, Flames, puck line. I think it was plus 308. Only had one. And I'm back up into, why don't we do this? Let's take a quick look at the leaderboard, because I think had a nice little performance last night. Yes. Better than 99.55%. And my 550 total has got me up to 50th or 51st right now. No, that's pretty good. And I know I got an email. I should give a shout out to this individual, Mark Plett. And Mark came up to me at BP last week after the Jets game and said, "Hey, big fan of the Lock Shop. Thanks for the picks. I've been tailing you. And I also am into the top 100 on Coolbet, on the Coolbet leaderboard." So
Wow.
Shout out to you, Mark, and everyone that has been riding. It has been a crazy week. I can't guarantee the results to continue the way they have so far this year, but I certainly hope we can. And I'm going to need to find those out very quickly, because we got to get these picks locked in before we get ready with the Lock Shop coming up at 4 p.m. And while I guess we're killing a bit of time, here's that link again. For all you YouTubers, do us a favor, hit that link, pop over, give us a sub. Cigars for everyone. Welcome to Supporter. What up, Cigars? Thanks for the support. Great to have you on board as a member of WST. Greatly appreciate the support. Let's go live back to the CTO office and see if we have some sort of an update. Michael Remis.
Yeah, I think I got it. So just type it in now.
Okay, so now we're good? Go for marbles?
Yeah, now we're good.
All right, people. It sounds like the brains of the operation has figured out a way to make this happen. No guarantees, but we're going to give it our best shot. Exclamation mark marbles in the chat right now. Do it again if you did it before. We're not sure what exactly happened, but it does sound. Do you have anything to add to this, Remo, as to how prepared we are and will this work?
Yeah, it's gonna work. I think it should collect everyone. I had to get a different bot basically, and I set it up, and it's collecting all the names. Got 135 coming in, 130. I'm looking at the hockey tonight. I had a great night last night on the daily fantasy. Shout out to Connor, Gagne, Morrissey, and Dubois.
Did you take Big Save Dave?
No, I chickened out. I couldn't take. I had Hellebuck ready to go.
You probably would have won if you had Big Save Dave in.
I probably actually the goalie who I should have taken is this Carolina rookie goalie, and I don't know. He probably is not going to be on your waiver wire anymore. But I picked him up in fantasy. Pyotr Kochetkov.
Yeah, Kochetkov.
He
signed a deal too.
Yes, he signed the contract, and actually, Edmonton locked up Stuart Skinner to a contract too. But I think he's got.
My guy Stewie Skins, 2.6 mil by 3.
Kochetkov, he's got points in like 10 straight games. He's on a bit of a heater, and I don't know when Freddie Anderson's coming back, but I feel like they're not like waiting for him. They're like, take your time, Freddie Anderson. We got Pyotr Kochetkov. He's pretty hot right now. Longest point streak, 10-game point streak for a rookie, like 6th longest. So it's quite a list of rookies on this one.
Not too bad. All right, gang. Again, if you missed it, we had a bit of an issue with the collecting of the names. Exclamation mark marbles in the chat if you want to be in the qualifying marble race. Next Friday, the top 3 marbles from this race and all of our qualifying races will be in for the grand prize of 2023 Bomber season tickets. Great to see everyone. I see Bravo Bry's in, Wade Wilkin, Jet Oil Tom, Fertani. You guys are good. David J. Smith, Joey Pankhew's talking about AEW. Oh, yeah, AEW tonight as well. 7 p.m., TSN 2. For those of you that maybe want to get into it before the big event with Jericho and the boys here on the 14th of March, do not miss it. Always entertaining. AEW wrestling tonight. Okay, marbles, we get going. Oh, Bailey Weeb. Bailey dropped in some picks here. Bailey's got the Devils over the Panthers. I don't mind that at plus 113.
I like
Lightning beat the Red Wings. I can definitely ride with that. Avs beat the Habs. Preds beat the Hawks. Oilers beat the Stars. Bailey, I think I might take a few of your picks and make a parlay tonight. Devils, Lightning, Oilers. And I'd like all those teams to win too. It'll be a fun to, I don't think I'm going to take your Coyotes pick over the Golden Knights, although I did see you do LOLs on both. Coyotes, Ducks parlay would pay you a lot. But those will be the picks later on. All right, last call for marbles, everybody. Again, if you haven't already, quickly put it in there, and then we'll finish this up and get it right in for our marble race for the qualifying. And again, apologies for the...
Yes, sir.
We've had some tech issues today. Fienberg craps out in the middle of the interview. And now Michael Remis's collection abilities for the marble race were paused for 10 minutes or so.
Yeah, and a lot of lopsided games tonight. You got Nashville, Chicago. Chicago looking absolutely awful these days. Minnesota, Anaheim, who played last night and were lifeless against LA. And what's the other one? Arizona in action too, although they got the goalie. So it seems like they can win any game. And I got Dallas over Edmonton tonight. I think Edmonton, they're pretty leaky on defense and have a lot of injuries. And they're on the road.
They're going to win one of these games. They lost in OT to Nashville, and that was coming off that home loss to the Ducks. Just like to find those teams when they pop on the road at plus money, and that could be it. Maybe I'll take Edmonton off the parlay and put Vegas puck line. I think Vegas comes back with a big performance after losing in reg to Buffalo earlier this week.
Do whatever you want to do. Oilers they're pretty leaky at defense. That's what I think.
I'm going to take Bailey's New Jersey pick.
Anyways.
All right, we closing it up? We're going to get this going?
Should I close them up? We got 215 people in here.
Yeah, we've made everyone wait long enough for sure. We're over 200. We're good to go.
Okay.
All right, so we'll lock those in.
And we got a new theme song today.
Yes, are we ready to play that?
Yeah, I mean, I could play it, sure.
Perfect. All right, folks. Tristan Rivers continues. This might be the best part of the entire 12 days of marbles, the fact that he keeps on serving up new versions for our listening enjoyment of the ever-popular marbles theme song that I know Remis and probably many of you sing to yourselves as you're walking around your house outside of WST hours. Here it is, the latest version for the Marbles Tournament of Champions from the Tristan Rivers music. All right, what did you think there? My first inclination was like a Blink-182, one of those pop punk bands.
Exactly. Blink-182 was it. I see a lot of people in chat with it. It's funny because we had Green Day before, which is also like a 90s punk, but that's a bit different kind of punk than this one. I did feel like I was in an American Pie movie scene with that playing. So when he says...
a lot of shout out to Tom DeLonge. Now, I'm not a big Blink guy, but is Tom DeLonge, has he stopped trying to discover aliens, and is he back with the band for this tour that they're going on?
I think they're all together. Yeah, the Colorado Avalanche reunited them.
Absolutely. Well, that and the fact that I guess is Blink-182 now, is that considered classic rock? Are they old enough?
Oh, I hope not. I hope.
I'm dating everybody while we're here. All right, that was a lot of fun. Tristan, you were the best. Shout out to Candace as well. Man, this has been so much fun. All right, we've got, another big race over 200. Thanks for your patience for everyone. What are we thinking of today?
We're doing Shattered Dreams. Is that a good?
That's
one?
the gold dust one. I think that's like crazy. That's no. Let's go down. What did we yesterday we did the slopes, which was wild. We've done the Temple of Steve.
What's hop, skip, and a jump?
Oh, that could be. What about have we done the robotic roadway?
Did we?
Or Rusty Remnant?
I think Rusty Remnant's good with a lot of element.
I don't know if we've done the robotic roadway before. Let's see what we got there with this one. All right, everyone. Again, appreciate your patience. We've got here.
Sure, I'll do this.
Wow. I don't know if we've done this one before.
Looks kind of crazy. Oh.
All right, everyone.
What is this? Okay.
I don't know, but we're here. 3 marbles, top 3 marbles will qualify for next Friday's Tournament of Champions grand finale for Bomber season tickets. Thanks again to Consolidated Supply, cte.ca. Check them out. Pop by and see them. $13.95, Niagara Road East. Spicy, Joe, Buck, Gino, my guys. Thanks again for the support. All right, we've heard from Tristan Rivers. We've taken enough of your time. Let's finish off the show and qualify our top 3 marbles for the championship race in the Tournament of Champions. Let's go.
My mouse disappeared, but I found it.
Here we go. I like, how do you feel about the Plinko starts as opposed to the funnels?
That's a good question. I think I like the funnel better. This was pretty quick.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, Doobie and Ryan Kibbins with nice starts.
Oh, some of them are just going right off.
Some of them are going right off. Some of them get raised up to the next level. Kibbins and Jeff Dirksen looking good. There's a few different ways you can go, and I think it's pretty clear that some are better than others, although they're still lying. Now, who we got here? I think there's the potential for major, major chaos at the end. These hammers can knock people out for sure.
This one was crazy. Like right off the start, if you took a wrong turn, you were done.
Yeah.
There's
and we're
a big
seeing
jump
a few more
here.
people. Rocked out. Patrolman Pete. Whoa.
Doobie.
Steven Dubiensky. I think Doobie just vanished into midair.
Okay, here we go.
Jeremy Nickerson. Someone's going to get thrown from way back into the pot. I can just already feel it. Who is this one?
Oh!
Boom! Who was that?
Free Oleg.
Oleg not thrown over the top rope. Oleg thrown into the box. All right, free Oleg is in. Pie Boy. Has Pie Boy qualified already?
I think he's qualified, so he'll get the t-shirt.
That means we're gonna do a fourth for we'll confirm a Pie Boy, but I believe our 4th marble is gonna qualify as well. Who is it going to be? It looks like it's going to be Mikey
McBikeface.
Mikey McMikeface?
Mikey McBikeface, yeah.
Oh, Mikey McBikeface. Excuse me. I believe, isn't that a local beer? Didn't they make one of those?
Yeah, it's Mikey McBikeface. Yeah, I think so.
Wow, what a story. What a moment. Free Oleg coming out of nowhere. Oleg, of course, listen, he's much like I am in the Kenny and Rennie song.
Mm-hmm.
Oleg is in the Marbles song for previous acts, but Oleg is reformed. Free Oleg has taken over, and Oleg is in. So, Remo, just confirm Pie Boy is already in?
I'm pretty sure Pie Boy has... Oh, no. So he hasn't. He won the tickets. So he actually isn't. My bad. He said he hasn't qualified.
Okay. Sorry about that there, Mikey McBikeface.
Yeah. So sorry. We made a mistake there.
Yeah. Okay. So our winners today, Free Oleg, Pie Boy, and 22 Canuck. Guys, Oleg, Pie Boy, Canuck, send us a quick email with your contact information so we've got you locked and loaded for the Tournament of Champions next Friday. Make an appointment. Put it in your phone. You will be there with 41 other marbles battling for supremacy in the marble race. I will say this. I think because of the delay today, and we still have been thinking about how to do the extra marbles, there is a good chance. Make sure to join us on the show next week, Wednesday, Thursday, probably for an additional race for those final 3 marbles. There it is. What a story. Free Oleg getting it done, qualifying today for the marble race. All right, Canuck 22, Pie Boy, Oleg, hit us up, and you're in for next Friday. Congratulations. That is going to do it for us, gang. We got to get out. Don't forget, Lock Shop coming up in half an hour right here on our new YouTube channel. There's the link. Kindly, if you hear from the marble race, click on that. Subscribe to the channel. Join us at 4. And thank me later, because all we've been doing is firing out winners. You too can have Qatari Rials all over the place if you follow our picks on the Lock Shop. 5 Qatari Rials. That's, I think, about $2. Remo, anything else on our way out other than thanking the listeners for their patience and hanging with us today?
I'm just really appreciative that not many people left as we worked out those technical issues, and the new bot I put in, I saw it immediately like timed out Bailey and Tico Napoli. So that was an accident. That was collateral damage of the new bot. So I disabled it. Oh. So my apologies if you got timed out.
Okay. Hey, folks, we'll do it again tomorrow. Join us 2:45 for registration. Tomorrow should be a good show. Who's on tomorrow? Ruwicki?
Yeah, Ruwicki. We got to work out some other stuff. But Ruwicki right now.
Excellent.
Talk
and hopefully get someone from Boston, tee up the game. I mean, listen, what a season that the Boston Bruins have had so far. So we'll get ready for these final 2 games. We'll do another marble race, maybe a little NFL talk before that big, I can't believe I'm saying it, but it is a big Jets-Jags game tomorrow night on Thursday Night Football. Thanks to John Shannon. Make sure to check that interview out if you missed it. Murat, Geoff Fienberg, and all of you for making us a part of your day. And, of course, the sponsors that help us bring this show to you Monday to Friday, live at 1 p.m. on YouTube and afterwards in your podcast feed. Folks, have a great afternoon and evening, and we'll see you tomorrow to set up the Jets and the Boston Bruins right here on Winnipeg Sports Talk.
Oh, my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.